Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of Tampa City Council to order. And Councilman Maniscalco, do you have the invocation?
Yep. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It is my great honor to welcome an icon from West Tampa. Missy Martin currently serves as Vice President of the Rocha Surety and Casualty, a 50-year family business rooted in service, integrity, and community. She is a proud graduate of Jefferson High School and the University of Tampa, with generational West Tampa and Main Street roots spanning more than 100 years. Missy is a past president of the McFarland Park Neighborhood Association, a former board member of the West Tampa Chamber of Commerce, and currently serves on the board of the Tampa Tiger Bay Club. She has also served in the City of Tampa's Budget Advisory Committee and on Mayor Jane Castor's Economic Advisory Committee. So if we could please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yes, ma'am, take it away.
Thank you very much, and good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to do this. I'm very appreciative. Dear God, let us take a moment to pause, reflect, and center our hearts and minds. In the presence of people of all faiths, all denominations, and all walks of life, We ask for wisdom, understanding, patience, and compassion to guide the work that will be done here today. May our elected officials be mindful of the great responsibility entrusted to them by the people they serve. We pray that every discussion, every vote, and every decision made in this chamber reflects the needs, concerns, hopes, and wishes of their constituents. May they listen with open hearts, communicate with honesty and respect, and seek to understand the voices of the community, especially those who may feel unheard and can no longer be heard. May they also be good stewards of the public resources and monies entrusted to them, using those funds wisely, responsibly, and in a manner that serves the best interest of the people and the future of the city of Tampa. Let their leadership be guided not by personal interest, but by service, fairness, accountability, and the common good. We ask for unity where there is division, clarity where there is uncertainty, and courage where difficult decisions must be made. May this meeting be conducted with dignity, respect, and a shared commitment to the betterment of the city of Tampa and for all who call it home. With gratitude, humility, and hope, we offer this prayer and reflection. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. It's good to see you. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Miranda. Here. Maniscalco.
Here.
Pertak.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Vieira. Carlson. And Clendenin.
Here.
We have a fiscal quorum.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from the regular session held on
Second.
June 4th and the evening session held on June 11th? I have a motion from Councilman Rivera, Miranda, and a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Let's go over the agenda. We have the memo from Councilwoman Hurtak to pull item 7 for discussion. Okay, we have a request to continue item 47 to July 16th.
Can I make that motion?
Oh, sure.
So I asked to pull item 7 to be heard after item 44, where the items removed from consent agenda are.
Okay, very good. We have a motion to pull items number 7 from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Request to move, continue item 47 to July 16th, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from
Me.
Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Anything else?
Do you want to go through the?
Okay, yep, let's do it. Let's go through the staff reports.
I want to pull number 20 for a separate vote, please.
Number 20. Okay, a motion from Councilman Carlson to pull 20 for a separate vote. Can I get a second? Second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And then the community has, did we do 39 yet? The community has asked us to continue number 39. And I spoke to Scott City, the city attorney, who said that he would like more time to help us think through this also, since he's new to this issue. So I'd like to move this to 30, I'd like to continue this to August, I don't know what date.
That is a 10 o'clock public hearing.
So we need to do it at 10?
Wait, you said 39, didn't you?
39, yeah.
39.
Yeah, it's a 10 o'clock public hearing.
Okay.
So we can do it at that, but just to weigh in for anybody who's here, I talked to, I'm sure you all did too, I talked to members of the community, I talked to Scott Steady, and I think everybody would just like a fresh look at it, considering what's happened in the last few months.
Okay, very good. We'll pick that up at, just remind me after we open the 10 o'clock hearings. Okay, staff reports, unless there's anything else that you guys want to discuss for the agenda. Okay, we do have an administrative update.
Yes on 45.
No on 46.
Nope, okay, no staff on 46.
Which one was discontinued to July?
47.
47. Thank you.
Okay, how about 48?
It's legal staff is supposed to present it.
Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. So we were working through this yesterday and this morning with Chief Bennett, Mr. Brody, and others. So let me first say for this one, Mr. Brody does not need to be here at all, and I just told him that. So I'm gonna put this as a placeholder. I'm gonna plan on moving a version of this to August 27th, if I may. I'm not gonna do it now because I gotta think of the motion and so forth. So
Okay, we'll
staff doesn't need to be here.
Okay, no staff, and we'll anticipate a motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, 49.
Let's see
No.
here.
No.
No staff on 49?
That's
Well,
the
I
one
mean-
that's being continued, really, right? I mean, she's,
No, that's the written staff report.
It's the written staff report. I mean, the issue
that
is
so-
ongoing. It's just Susan responded to the,
yeah, she
Yeah.
said she's gonna come back.
And I'll save that as a placeholder to talk, but yeah, that's fine.
So will that be a receive and file 49? Simply a receive
what does
and file?
council want? What's their wish?
Receive and files.
Receive and file, okay. We have a motion to receive and file the report from item 49, second from Councilman Viera, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it.
Thank you, counsel.
50. Yeah, we need to talk about that. You-
Yeah,
you agree?
I think it would be a good idea to
Yeah.
have Mr. Brody here, sorry to
I
make him
agree.
wait.
51.
51, yes. Mr. Kay.
I move to accept items 52, 53, 54, and 55,
Okay.
because those are written staff reports.
We have a motion to receive and file items 52, 53, 54, and 55 from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilman Viera. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Mr. Shelby?
Yes,
Oh,
Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of council. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. With regard to item number 51, I'm going to be appearing with City Attorney Scott Steady. I'm going to ask council for a 10-minute presentation, and then we'll be prepared to have a discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco?
And I wanted to wish Sue Ling, our clerk, a happy belated
Belated birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Suling. Happy birthday to you. See, we're warming up for council karaoke on July 17th in Forest Hills, Babe Zahara Country Club.
Can I just say, she has a birthday every day, because she's always happy, and she always goes on great trips, so she's like a 365.
People should learn from Suling. Be happy. We have a motion to approve the agenda from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed,
And Mr.
ayes
Chairman?
have it. Mr. Shelby.
Forgive me, but did you, with regard to the almost $6 million expenditure for number 46, did you say you wanted staff? I don't recall.
I'd have to go back and look. No, we did not. We did not. That was the Acela thing. No, we don't.
You don't need staff?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to also ask that be taken up with the items that are at the consent docket. After consent, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, so we have approved the agenda, and we are now on to item number 1. Councilman Charlie Miranda for a commendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of City Council. Today we have a unique opportunity because in sports, you always hear about tennis, golf, football, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. But very rarely do you have 3 individuals that at one time or other lived in the city of Tampa for some period of time. And between them, they have won over 9,500 races being a jockey. And I was honored to have the pleasure of living in the neighborhood where one of them was raised. And Ramon Perez, come forward, please. Ramon came from Cuba at age 7, and he lived right there on 15th Street and 25th Avenue, 1 block away from a guy he never knew. That happened to be me on Sanchez Street. So I met Ramon at a very young age when we were playing at Cascading Park, and he would come in once in a while to watch the games. And Ramon had done something extraordinary. He not only did he win races, but I'm sure most people in the racing community and horse racing know a trainer by the name of Bill Mott. Bill Mott's in the Hall of Fame as win many derbies, many Preakness, many Belmont Stakes. The guy to my left is a jockey who rode Bill Mott's first 2 races, and he won both races for Bill Mott. So Bill Mott owes his whole career to Ramon Perez. But that's how I looked at it anyway. Ramon Perez was an astounding jockey. and I'll read some of the stuff he did as a jockey, and it was outstanding. By the way, a jockey only gets paid a lot of money, or some money, when they win. It's not if the team wins and you get paid what everybody else does. You gotta earn it every single day, and you get so much to ride the horse, and 10% of the wins that the jockey leaves over and pays his agent 25% of that. But Ramon Perez born in Cuba, and he began his riding career in 1966. He had a remarkable 27 years of being a journeyman rider. He won 2,729 victories, and 2 of them were stake races. In the Cornhusker Stakes, he set a track record, not only with that horse, with another horse called Private Thoughts, who also won the Arlington Classic. At that time, and back in the 70s, a race of 150,000 was something like $1 million now. So he won 2 of those races, and he did an outstanding job in being who he was. And he, like I said, he hasn't done too many mistakes in life, like everybody else. He quit riding because he started getting too much weight. And that's how life goes. But he's an outstanding guy, and he won 2 titles, one in Hazel Park, Michigan, and the other one in Detroit Racetrack in Michigan also. So he knows how to win, but like most jockeys, not often you win. It's how many times you can get up, because it's very dangerous. When you're going 35, 40 miles an hour and you see a hole in front of you and you're going to say go or no go, and that horse the hole starts to close because the horse changes leads, and you got to stand up and hold that horse back. It takes an enormous amount of strength. And these little guys here, pound for pound, to me, are the strongest athletes, period, compared to any. Because what they got to do with a horse that weighs 1,000 pounds or 1,200 pounds, going at 35, 40 miles an hour, and make a split-second decision whether to go in, out, or stay where you're at until you have an opening, is what makes them who they are. And Ramon will tell you a little bit about it, and I'm going to put on the ammo here. I've never done the ammo, but there it is. That's the Arlington Classic. That was 150,000 with a horse named Private Thoughts. And but I can tell you, he did what he had to do to win, and he won a lot of them. And the next one here is the Cornhusker. Cornhusker is up in, if I remember, up in Nebraska at Artsarbon. That's a beautiful racetrack that was there. It's no longer in existence. And he also, I believe, set a track record with this horse. So that track record would always be there, and the reason for that is that racetrack is closed. So Ramon, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for who you are. And thank you for all the careers that you've had, your wins, and thank you for being a Tampa native since you were 7 years old. That was 10 years ago. So I appreciate it. Want to say a couple of words? I said a couple.
I want to thank everybody for this beautiful award and for being recognized. And I want to thank my friend Charlie Miranda, which I've known all my life. He's a little older than I am. But he's, you know, you guys have done a great, fantastic job. And I really enjoy, you know, being a citizen of Tampa. And always will be. I thank you so much for this award. Thanks my family and my friends.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on 1 second, Ramon.
And Ramon, Señor Perez, si tú puedes, mi hermano. I was so glad, first off, to see Mr. Miranda talk about horse racing. You know, we all have lives outside here professionally, and you know, you're always so intertwined with politics, and this is your other world, and it's just it's so cool to see. And every time I'm in Forest Hills, which is a lot, Ramon, you always have a smile, a hug, a compliment for Mr. Miranda, for your friendship to him, and you're a good soul, and you're one of the many wonderful people out in Forest Hills that I have a lot of love and affection for. You're a wonderful guy. Te quiero mucho, mi hermano. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In fact, he's the one that started the first Friday of the month singing duel with the council members at Forest Hills. So if you want to listen to somebody sing, go and see this board sing, because they do a great job in singing. Not me, I'm just a bass player.
Well, Ramon, thank you. You're a great example of the diversity of the city of Tampa, both culturally and you know, we have all these great highlight players that live here, and of course jockeys, and it's so great to have so many different folks that make Tampa what Tampa is. So thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramon. All right, we have Heriberto Rivera Jr., and I always call him Junior, but his name is Heriberto Rivera Jr. Here's a gentleman that won 14 writing titles in the state of Ohio. 16 really, 14 in Thistle Downs and 2 in River Downs, as it was known then.
2 in Tampa.
And 2 in Tampa. So that's 18 titles he has. And he's ridden many, many horses, and let me just say what his riding career has done. He started riding, producing, and earning 24 years ago. He's had 3,183 victories on horseback. So that's a lot of wins. And his victories were over $24 million in earnings. He set the record, like I said, many times. And by the way, he's the second Puerto Rican jockey to have over 3,000 wins. So that's an honor in itself. And there's many Puerto Rican jockeys that have been ridden before. He now, beside all his wins, he was a steward, and I worked with him as a steward in Michigan. And we had a very unique situation in that racetrack, and it was a female general manager. The 3 stewards was a Puerto Rican, a Cuban, and a black. And somebody filed a discrimination act against us. Remember that? I never forget that as long as I live. They said we didn't have enough diversity. I don't know what they were talking about, but it is what it is. But anyway, Rivera has wins of, like I said, 3,183. That's a lot of wins. And between these 3 guys, they have over 9,600 wins. That's an amazing thing. And from here in Tampa that no one really knew about. Junior lived here for many years. He won, like I said, 2 titles in Tampa, and the rest were up north. But he's an outstanding jockey. And what does he do now? He works for the Jockey Guild. He's like the general manager of that era of the Jockey Guilds, where he has all the racetracks in America. He's responsible for sending different individuals to make sure that the jockeys are all taken care of. And you'll see the next one that works also for the Jockey Guild under Junior Rivera. And Junior is an outstanding gentleman. You want to say a couple of words?
I just want to thank you.
No, don't thank me, thank them.
For this honor, and just Charlie is Charlie, you know. Got to work with him. I was lucky enough that I was able to be a steward because he helped me get in there. And once I got in there, I was able to get the job in Michigan. And then I was able to bring him there in Michigan. And they never met anybody like Charlie in Michigan. If you know what I mean.
Okay, we all know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Okay.
We all know what you mean.
They thought they knew everything till they met Charlie there. And then we lived together.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, let's talk later.
Again, we lived together. There were 3 of them.
3 of us, we lived together. It's like, whoa, it was.
Who was the 3rd one?
We'll get some coffee con leche and let's talk.
It was great. It was a unique experience. But I tell you what, I love Charlie to death, and he's been a great,
Anyway,
a
it's
great
about you,
asset to
not
my
about
life.
me.
But I appreciate this, and I appreciate the work you guys do, and keep the good work.
I think we're going to get a sign back here. Charlie is Charlie.
Oh, yeah, Charlie, yeah.
The next one is a gentleman that they call Chili Willie. And how did he get his name? Well, he got his name how he rides the horses. He stands still on the horse. He doesn't make too much movement. When he sees something that he likes, the horse goes right through wherever he's got to gauge him to. I wouldn't be a jockey because it's dangerous, and you have to have a lot of strength. And like I said, and you work 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because you're always moving. Every 3 or 4 months, you got to go to another racetrack, and back where you started. Anyway, Willie Martinez is a successful career jockey known as Chili Willie. And that's given because the way he relaxes on the horse, and he makes the horse likes that. And Willie Martinez had a 36-year career, amazing 3,722 wins, including 38 graded stakes. What does that mean, graded stakes? The Derby is the graded stakes, the Preakness is the graded stakes, the Belmont's the graded stakes, and most derbies in the country are graded stakes. And so when you have 38 graded stake wins, that means you rode with the cream of the crop. Anywhere you went, you were a target because they knew you could ride. And these are the things that he accomplished, winning grade 1 victories with a horse called Triniberg, Noble Promise, and Brass Hat. And he even rode in Dubai, where they have the horses ship in from all over the world, and those purses are, I don't know, 5 million, 10 million. I think the highest one now is 20 million, I'm not sure.
Pretty close.
Yeah, but that's how the experience that he rode with was top of the riders in the whole country. And Willie's mother, when I first met Willie, was a young boy, and his mother lived right behind the post office there on Hillsborough Avenue. And I don't know if he still lives there?
We still there, yeah.
And he still lived there, so he's Tampa in and out. Among his accomplishments, he became a outstanding rider throughout the country and a leader in the business. And now, since they all know each other, Junior was looking, that's what I call Roberto Rivera Jr., I call him Junior, needed an agent to handle half of the country, a third of the country, and he hired Willie to come work with the Jockeys Guild. So now Willie's retired, and he works for the Jockeys Guild working with Junior Rivera. But I want to introduce you to him because it's an amazing thing. He's just a rider that get on a horse and the horse would run faster for him than somebody else because he never moved on the horse unless he had to do something. But Willie's an outstanding rider. In fact, we have, I think, a film of him winning 3 of those 38 grade 1s. Can we show that now? It's a real quick thing, not the whole race.
Noble's Promise is the leader, turning for home by 2 legs. Roman Invasion is second. Aconite is third out in the center of the racetrack. Piscatelli running toward fourth from far back. Make Music for Me is fifth. Final furlong of the Dixiana. Noble's Promise leads it by 3. Aconite tries to come after him on the outside. Roman Invasion is third. Down to the line. Noble's Promise. Aconite running on. Noble's Promise takes the Dixiana Breeders' Futurity over Aconite home second. Then Roman
Side and Triniberg, the lumber guy comes after them. Fast Bullet is in fourth. Smiling Tiger moving into contention. On the far side, Poseidon's Warrior and the Zombie's got to do a little better. Then Coil, Jimmy Queen. They come for home. Triniberg, the lumber guy on the outside. Smiling Tiger, some of the parts coming back. And now here's Fast Bullet trying to come again. Triniberg, the lumber guy, the 2 though. Triniberg going to go all the way. Triniberg, the lumber guy. Triniberg too good today. And Triniberg has won at a length under Willie Martinez. The lumber guy.
Every single time he sat on this horse, I loved the workout the other day because he sat chilly. Willie's nickname is Chilly Willie, and this is about as cool and calm and chilly as you can possibly get.
Final time 107.
Fair and square, right back at him.
That's Mahoney. That's the last race he ever rode before he retired. And I think he's on the outside here. With the white blinker. With the red cap. The inside is black cap. They're bumping each other, a little scraping here.
Final 16. Fair and square, Houday, fair and square. Fair and square takes the lead, but here is Houday again. Photo!
So he won his last race at Iban. So on behalf of Tampa City Council and all the cities in the city of Tampa, congratulations on what you've done on horseback and the career that you've had in racing and the many people that you helped.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you much. Thank you very much. And as I said earlier, it's great to have the diversity and different folks that live in the city of Tampa. Thank you for being part of our fabric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and especially among these 3 guys, my figure father, Charlie, my second figure father, 2 mentors, Ramon, and all type of friends, and just sitting here, standing here with these guys and what they have accomplished, they lead up the way for me. So I think for the 3 of us, the biggest accomplishment is to walk away in one piece out of the game. And I thank God for that. So I rode my first race here in '89. My career took me to many places, but this will always be home for me. And always been, always will be. So I appreciate you all so much. And the city of Tampa, this is home, and this is where we stand.
I mean, he's had riding titles in Tampa and Birmingham and River Downs and Kentucky and Churchill, all of them. He had them. So at one time, he was the cream of the crop himself.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson?
Charlie, Councilmember Miranda, we all see that when you talk about horses, suddenly you light up and you're like a different person, and you're so passionate about it. And the Tampa Bay Downs just hit 100 years. Horse racing in Tampa Bay just hit 200 years. Can you tell us, since we spent so much time on this morning, besides their personal accomplishments, can you just tell the public what your passion is, why you think horse racing is so important for our community?
Well, it's a long story. I don't want to bore everybody. We got a long day. You have to be lucky, but you have to work at it like all these gentlemen do. It's not easy to be a trainer or owner or jockey because you work 24 hours a day, just about 7 days a week. You don't have no break because when you go from one racetrack to another, you got to move again and start the same thing again. But it's how you treat the animal treats you, and how you take care of them, that's how they run. But every horse is slow or fast or good enough or not good enough. And that's up to the owner and the trainer to decide where to run them at, what price to run them for. It ain't like a baseball team or football team or hockey team where everybody gets paid no matter if you win or lose. No, you only get, when you win, you get so much. When you finish second, so much. Third, so much. And fourth, and after that, you get $100 to pay these guys to ride the horse. And that's how it is. It's a great sport. It's a sport that I made a lot of people millionaires when I was training, but they were billionaires when they started. So it is what it is. It's very hard to win. So, that's what I tell you. But,
That's the second best line of the day. Thank you very much. Okay.
all right.
Well, Councilwoman Young, would you like to explain why we have all of this red in the room today?
We have some beautiful ladies in the room.
Yep, absolutely. District 5, Councilwoman Naya Young.
Yes. Well, good morning.
Good
I know you've
morning.
been seeing some beautiful ladies in
Y'all
red.
come up.
Yes, yeah, come on up. Come on up. I know you've seen some beautiful ladies in red.
Boy, it looks good on
that
camera too, by the way.
Have been blessing us this morning, and it gives me great pleasure and honor to be able to present a Tampa City Commendation to the wonderful ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I made sure I practiced this. I said it 5 times fast, so I wanted to be sure that I got it right. So it gives me great honor and pleasure to present this Tampa City Commendation to our Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated at Delta Day at City Hall. Tampa City Council hereby recognizes and commends Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for their outstanding service and enduring dedication to the Tampa Bay community and beyond through leadership, scholarship, advocacy, mentorship, civic engagement, and volunteerism. Tampa City Council recognizes the collective impact of the chapters through the annual Delta Days at City Hall initiative established by the Tampa Metropolitan Alumni Chapter in 2006, which strengthens collaboration between community leaders and local government while advancing equity, education, public policy awareness, civic participation, and community empowerment. Special recognition is extended in honor of the late Gwendolyn Henderson, who was an esteemed and very proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, former Tampa City Council member, and dedicated public servant whose leadership and advocacy left a lasting impact on the Tampa community. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority is faithfully committed to the 5-point pragmatic thrust of economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. Presented on this 18th day of June 2026 in appreciation of the continued dedication, leadership, and exemplary service of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes. And also, also, my wonderful legislative aide, she's over there, she's behind the camera, is also a very proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority.
Come on, Darlene, get on camera.
Yeah, come on, Darlene, you gotta get in the camera. So, I wanted to, it gives me such great honor to present this to you ladies. While I am not a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I have some wonderful women in my family who are Deltas themselves. So when I told them that I was doing this today, they said, "Oh, I know that's right." So I'm very happy to be able to be here to do this. And I know, did anyone want to say anything? Are you okay? No? Well, I'm very.
Yeah.
I will. Oh, go ahead.
We want to thank you all for recognizing.
Could you tell us who you are
today.
first? Say
Oh,
your
sorry,
name.
apologize. I'm Belinda McKnight Green. I am the first vice president for the Tampa Alumni Chapter. This is the second vice president of the Tampa Metropolitan Alumni Chapter. And we want to thank you for recognizing us today at Delta Day at the City Hall. This is the 20th year for the Tampa Metropolitan Chapter doing this service. Our chapter does the county, and so we are definitely public service member, and we honor our late Gwen Henderson as being a part of our chapter, and her community service lived through the Delta. So we thank you so much.
Thank you very
And
much.
thank you, sorry, to council, I said sorry, but not yet. Thank you to Councilwoman Naya Young.
Councilman
Thank you so
Vera?
Oh, if they,
You want to say something else? Okay.
Thank you so much on
Start
behalf
with
of the
your
Tampa
name.
Metro. My name is Ebony Faison, sorry. Thank you so much on behalf of the Tampa Metropolitan Alumni Chapter. I am second vice president, and we would like to thank you for this great honor. Thank you to Councilwoman Young for everything that you're doing so far and what you're going to do in the future, and we just thank you for everything. Thank you so much.
Councilman Vera?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. No, Councilman Young, thank you so much for putting this forward. We always love to welcome these wonderful ladies in this room, and obviously the memory of the late Councilwoman Gwen Henderson. Whenever I talk about the Deltas, also talk about my late friend, who was such a strong woman and a great Delta, Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, who was a wonderful attorney, and her husband just got elected county court judge. And we're also happy for Travis, who's such a good guy. And I see a lot of good people there. The woman who wears many hats, Chloe Coney, and a very special woman who's a proud mother of one of my best friends, Otis Kitchen, Vivian Kitchen, who's such a wonderful person. And you're the best. I mean it. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as we spoke earlier in the commendation about the fabric of the city of Tampa, you know, I look at you all and I see really rich threads. So thank you so much for being a part of the city of Tampa. And thank you, Councilwoman Young, for recognizing the Deltas today. Thank you. Thank you. We'll give it a moment before we move. Okay, our next presentation is from the EDC and city staff to report to City Council. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, Council. Jerry Lopez, Deputy Administrator for Development and Economic Opportunity. Pleased to be here today to talk about the efforts that we're doing internally and with our partners on our small business activities. So first, I'd like to introduce Javier Marin, our Director of Economic Opportunity, to give you a brief highlight of the activities we're doing internally related to our small business activities. Javier?
Thank you very much. Javier, good morning. Start with your name.
Javier Marin, Economic Opportunity. Good morning, Council. I'd like the presentation to be uploaded, please.
It'll come up here in a second.
There we go. And so we want to discuss our role in the entrepreneurial ecosystem within the city of Tampa. Next slide, please. Maybe we can just, yep. And so our role is to support businesses on all different sizes. We start with pre-ventures, startups, medium-sized businesses, and large employers. And the idea is to identify what gaps there are in serving those businesses throughout the ecosystem. One of our most successful programs, in my view, is the Small Business Navigator. We've been able to support 1,000 businesses out of the 23,000 in the city of Tampa. And the idea really is for someone to go into our communities, knock on doors, walk the streets, identify the needs within those communities, and then connect them with the resources that are available. And there's a number of agencies that provide services. We do have referrals to outside agencies and also to our internal partners, such as Equal Business Opportunity, that typically gets a number of referrals from us. I'm going to start from the business microfinancing on this slide. And so basically we have a number of micro grants available for businesses today. I won't get into the details of each of the micro grants, but they run from $500 to $15,000. And the idea is to support those local communities, local businesses that want to grow, that want to improve their operations. And we also partnered with 4 financial institutions that would help those businesses leverage the grants they're getting from the city into microloan programs. So it's a win-win for everybody. These microloan programs are very sensitive to the fact that not all businesses have all the required elements to get conventional loans. So, and they go up to about $50,000. So it's a great opportunity. Going to the left, counterclockwise, we have business incubation. Again, people that have these great ideas and they're trying to figure out how to mature those ideas. And then we also provide technical assistance, all these through the Women's Business Center, Prospera, the Hillsborough County Entrepreneur Center. With the SBDC, we do technical assistance for micro enterprises and also for small businesses. And the idea is to develop some growth acceleration programs to help second stage businesses grow exponentially within the next couple of years. Tampa Bay Wave is also one of our contracts specific to tech acceleration. And then, of course, the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, and we have Tony Brown here. Tony, where do you go? There you are. We have Tony here. He'll tell us a little bit more about the role of the EDC in supporting business attraction, retention, and expansion. And if you can load up the next presentation. Thank you, Howard. You got it? Yeah. Sure.
Good morning, Tony. Start with your name, please.
Make sure I know how to use the controls as the presentation comes forward. Good morning, I'm Tony Brown. I'm the Vice President of Community Development for the Tampa Bay EDC. And just by way of introduction, I know I've had some one-on-one time with a few of you, but I've been with the EDC 5 years. I come to this job with a 40-year resume in community development, finance, and real estate. I ran the community development banking group for what was Burnett Bank prior to the Bank of America merger. And I had the privilege of running our nation's Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, where I implemented the New Markets Tax Credit Program and have had extensive real estate background and managed the CRA for the city of St. Augustine and Riviera Beach CRA. So I bring a pretty varied experience in community development, finance, and real estate. I was invited to report on what businesses are coming to Tampa, and to particularly focus on what we do to attract industrial and manufacturing businesses. Craig Richard, our president, typically addresses you each year and goes into details about business development. I'm going to spend more time on our placemaking activities that have been funded by the Tampa Bay Economic Prosperity Foundation, which is an affiliate of the EDC. And the second wholly owned subsidiary is Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc., which has been the entity that we've used to help generate economic development opportunities or investment opportunities in low-income areas. You asked me to speak on opportunities in manufacturing. We're pleased to report that businesses are looking at Tampa, that we have generated a strong pipeline for the businesses or the project leads in manufacturing. What has occurred, though, is that our conversion rate is not as successful as what we achieve in other sectors. We have a 12% close rate versus 24% across other sectors. And the reason being is that many of the large manufacturing companies are looking for land availability, access to electricity, utilities are one thing, and then the other aspect is that the impression of natural disasters have an impact on our ability to recruit manufacturers from outside the area. There are things happening at the federal level, though, that give us some positive opportunity. We'll talk about, I'll highlight opportunity zones and what Florida Commerce had directed to areas around the state that they were looking for in terms of designating opportunity zones, and then another federal program that the president issued. I'm trying to think of the term, but the president has identified maritime prosperity zones as a huge opportunity for business activities around our port. This slide is a highlight, and I'll come back to this if you have questions. This slide is a highlight of the 33 census tracts that we recommended to the state to be designated for opportunity zones. The Opportunity Zone program became permanent this year, so communities across the country have had to redesignate the opportunity zones. We worked very closely with your staff, and I want to commend Javier and Amanda and Jerry for the efforts that they made in helping us in working with the county, identified 95 census tracts, of which we recommended 33 to the state. We say 33, 5 were requests for eligibility review. And what that means is that based on the new rules for opportunity zones, Sulphur Springs, East Ybor, Ybor Harbor, Tampa Heights, and the Army-Navy site didn't meet the new requirements for opportunity zones. But the IRS did highlight analysis that could be done for what they call off-list census tracts. The asterisk shows where we believe that there are opportunities to attract, opportunities that we believe gives us a chance to attract industrial businesses. As I shift into our placemaking activities that have been funded by the Prosperity Foundation, I'm pleased to say that that whole funding effort has been privately financed, and we're grateful to 15 companies that have contributed nearly $2 million for us to implement 2 initiatives. One is our CERTA program, where we target specific communities in Tampa to let them know of high-paying jobs that allow for quick certificate programs that are job opportunities that fill quickly. And so we have targeted that marketing campaign or that awareness campaign in the areas of Ybor, East Tampa, and Central Park. And next year we'll expand it into other areas that have been identified us with pockets of unemployment. The second initiative that we funded, and we've been before you before, has been the East Tampa Industrial District. And we started back in 2022 in the plan and working with the CRA to look at the redevelopment activities on Columbus between 31st and 40th Street. And every building you see in white, we walked through, knocked on the doors, and was actively engaged with the businesses to find out what incentives are important for you that would help spark revitalization in the Columbus district. And in your packet, you have this report, and we recommended some incentives that were customized for the industrial area that is probably applicable in like Drew Park and areas of West Tampa, where you have large commercial properties that are off the tax rolls. And so this predated the time that you decided to consolidate all your incentive programs and put them under one process. At the time in 2022, each CRA had their own program, had their own processes. And so we took a pause. We had great momentum with the businesses that we talked about, and so we took a pause as you look to retool your incentive programs. One of the recommendations that we made, obviously, was strategic property acquisitions, and I know that that's a big part of the CRA budget in the upcoming year. And so we formed Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc. to respond to an RFP opportunity for the Live Learn development. We recruited Integral Florida as a co-developer for the residential component, and Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc. is the developer of the East Tampa Innovation Center. As I mentioned, it is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Tampa Bay EDC, but it has its own separate board of directors, and you probably recognize some of the names and organizations. We wanted to have an organization that would meet the federal definition of being a community development entity, because we wanted to be a driving force for our community development partners to drive business investment opportunities in underserved areas. And so the site here is what the city bought, put out as an RFP, and is allowing us to develop the live, learn development where the arrow is, which the vision is for it to spark a revitalization, for it to be a catalyst for the revitalization of the industrial district, where the incentives were intended to be a micro component of allowing other businesses to come and improve their properties. One example I like to give when we make a recommendation on the uniform fencing program is we told businesses that your backyard is the front yard to some of our neighborhoods, and so you need to be cognizant of that as you look to develop. If you've seen this project, it has undergone the approval process. We expect to break ground in the spring. This is the residential development, 118 units of affordable housing, 100%. And we're now, that's phase one. The residential component is phase one. Phase two is the East Tampa Innovation Center. That has gone through a couple of iterations. When we started this process with University of South Florida, this was well before they made their commitment to Bellini College and the investments in cybersecurity. So the vision of creating a space where advanced manufacturing could be the training component, we're switching that up and doing a feasibility study to see how can we incubate and accelerate small and emerging manufacturers where this advanced manufacturing equipment is a central hub and utilized to grow small and medium manufacturers, and using them to then grow and to revitalize the East Tampa district. Now, I went through that quickly, so thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. This might be a little bit for both Javier and yourself. I am curious. Your data clearly shows that recruitment is not necessarily working. I believe that what we really should focus on is scale up of the small businesses that we're creating here, especially in manufacturing. We do have those businesses. So I want to talk about what resources, that's what I couldn't tell from your slides. What is the resources you are spending on scaling up versus recruitment?
So the resources that we spend scaling up, our EDO is unlike other government, right? We're not a government authority. We do not have bonding capacity, the funding to acquire real estate. So our partnership with the city and the county is focused on where do they have land that they've acquired, or developers that have acquired land. And so we spend our time and attention doing gap financing, trying to help them find sources of capital. So the issue, when you say our success rate, I assume you're talking about manufacturing with the 12% conversion gap, is that manufacturers, if you have industrial property, if you looked at the market data, that's some of the properties that they don't often come on sale. They're not sold. The vacancy rate is low. And so for Hillsborough County, and particularly for the city of Tampa, the availability of land is not as abundant as it might be in some of our rural areas in the state of Florida. So that's where, when we have an opportunity to secure a large manufacturer, we lose that opportunity because we don't have the land or the property.
That is not what I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Marin, I think you understand what I'm asking.
Javier Marin, Economic Opportunity. So we have a number of programs. We have a contract with the Small Business Development Centers in what they call the Growth Acceleration Program, which is to actually go into a business, identify their needs. There are about 130 areas in which they address how to help that business grow exponentially. So through the SBDC, we have that option on a very specific program, again, the Growth Acceleration. With the Women's Business Center, with Prospera, with the Hillsborough Entrepreneur Center, we also have different programs for technical assistance for small businesses to help them just move up, whether it's in increasing their sales or increasing their staffing or both. And also through Tampa Bay Wave, we support growth.
But that is
tech
not,
growth.
that's not my question. My question is, how much money are we spending on scale-up versus recruitment of outside companies?
In our case, we are using CDBG funding, and we have $50,000 earmarked specifically for the Growth Acceleration Program. For all other programs, it's about $300,000.
So you're telling me scale-up we're only spending $50,000 on?
Yes.
And recruiting people from outside the city, we're spending $300,000?
So there are a couple of different programs. The $300,000 actually covers incubation services, technical assistance, workshops through the ECC. So even though they're not specific to scale up, they support business growth. Now, from the EDC, they do have a separate agreement. It's $588,000 for business attraction, retention, and expansion. And part of our agreement with them this year is to develop a very specific retention and expansion plan so we can identify the needs of those businesses in their target industries that should and could be supported through their growth.
So what it sounds like is that there is not a differentiation. So what I would like both of you to come back with is the exact amount of money that you're spending on retention and improving and growth and acceleration from our local companies who are already here versus what we're spending on trying to get other people to come here.
Will do.
I need those exact numbers because that's my concern. It sounds like you're putting it all together when what we really need in the city is incentivizing the folks who already are here to grow. And you hit the nail on the head when you said that it's people are worried about coming here due to possible hurricanes, due to all this stuff. You know who's not worried about it? People who already live here. So that's where our focus needs to be. The other thing I wanted to know, you talked about Hillsborough County. No offense, I'm not really interested in Hillsborough County because I'm covering the city. So when looking at that opportunity zone map, I could not tell what's in the city versus what's outside of the city. You had both. So if you could do a map just for the city of Tampa so we could see what the opportunity zones are within our borders, that would be very helpful. I understand that the EDC provides information for both, but we do not as the city. So we need to be able to see that differentiation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may just respond to a couple of comments, since I didn't understand your scale-up question. So 78% of our project leads are from out of the area. So 22% is how we assist existing companies to remain and expand. And so that is helping companies stay and grow is a central part of our mission. And I'll make sure that I'll pass that on to Mr. Richard when he gives an update on our business development activities.
Thank you, Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague, and if she wants to make a motion about that information, I'm happy to second it. You know, about 4 or 5 years ago, we as the CRA board created a plan that was an innovative plan based on the latest economic development methods. And we were going to implement a system like what she said that was going to promote local entrepreneurship, neighborhood commercial districts, opportunities for formal engagement of entrepreneurs, and also informal engagement and accidental engagement. Then the mayor ran the staff off, and we had to start over. And so what we've ended up with now is we've still got the plan, but for some reason the mayor through the back door is pushing for her agenda instead of the CRA board's agenda, even though legally she has no role in it. This administration, the last administration, have thought that real estate development is the same as economic development, and we know from experience all over the world that that's not true. When a presentation comes up and it talks about all these incentives for real estate, it really is offensive to the public because the public knows that the only thing that they don't just want real estate, they want real economic development, they want jobs, they want to help entrepreneurs. And this is why I objected to this project in the beginning. What happened is the money we were going to use on neighborhood commercial districts and opportunities to help entrepreneurs got shifted to this EDC project. And frankly, the EDC doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the track record to be able to run it. Tony's a superstar, and I wish we could move him to a different organization. But the issue is that the EDC, the last time I looked, none of the companies that they recruited that I could find had met any of the goals they said. 3 of them were out of business, and 1 guy had gone to jail. And so I don't think that's a very good track record for recruitment. So guess what they did? They changed the rules so they're not counting the same things they used to do because they're stuck in the 80s using the old model. What we need to do is get the EDC out of this. There are community organizations in East Tampa that know exactly what they need to do for East Tampa. Instead of giving the EDC a cut of this, we need to go directly to those organizations in East Tampa. We need to go to the people in East Tampa, the businesses in East Tampa, and because they know how to help their own community. We don't need a group of people paying $30,000 a year in downtown to tell people in East Tampa what to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond shortly? So,
because we have 2 more things.
okay, I'll be brief. Okay.
And then you can respond to both. Councilwoman Young.
Well, one, thank you both. I asked for this presentation because we had been, received a lot of public comment just in regards to, small businesses and opportunities. And so I kind of just wanted to, be able to put this out to the public, what's happening. And another reason why is one of the things that I hear a lot when I'm out in the community is, it's hard to do business with the city. I hear it a lot, and not just from small businesses to local businesses to sometimes the businesses that are coming out of state. I hear a lot that it's hard to do business with the city, and so I think that is worth us looking into. How do we make it easier for some of those small businesses? One of the things that I love to do is go and visit other cities. And when you go and visit other cities, they have businesses that have been there for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, generations. They've been there for such a long time. And it really contributes to, we were talking earlier about the fabric and the culture of a city. And we have so much culture and history right here in the Tampa area. And so how are we helping those businesses? And I would love to see how we can continue to do that. I know you were saying, Javier, that we do have, some CDBG funds that we give out to businesses, but I know, like, specifically for my district, Sulphur Springs and East Tampa are 2 areas that really, really are looking for ways to how do we bring more economic development and businesses, and how do we help those businesses in the area already. So, and maybe that's a conversation that we'll have more as a council, but, as you two are in your professions, how are we able to help those businesses? I understand the importance of bringing business here because that also brings money, but making sure that businesses can stay here. Because I've spoken to people who say, "Yeah, I've been here for this long, but I've got to move my business somewhere else because I can't do business here anymore." And so we're losing that talent. Tony, I think you do a great job. And I went to visit the EDC, and we really had really robust conversation. I know that you are support helping our small and local businesses, but I would just love to see us do more of that. And then I had a question in regards to the opportunity zones. While I know you're saying Sulphur Springs did not meet the requirements, I guess this is a question for both of you. What in your what ideas or recommendations would you have for us? How do we bring business into that area? If they didn't qualify for opportunity zone, what else can we do? Just to hear from you all's point of view. I know we've spoke about it as a council, but I would love to hear from you.
Well, as I mentioned, so the IRS issued some rulemaking giving the governors the ability to recommend what they call an off-list census tract. Opportunity zones change. It used to be that 80% of the area median income qualified. They changed that to 70%, and then you could go up higher if there's a large pocket of poverty. So after we made our recommendations, and then once IRS issued their revenue procedures, we followed up with the city. We let them know, and so to the city's credit, they did an analysis of Sulphur Springs to show. I'm trying not to be too technical. Okay. So the federal government used an estimate of the census. And so the estimate that they used had high error rates. And so we're able to document that Sulphur Springs, along with Ybor Harbor and a few others, had very high error rates because they were estimating the low-income population from the last census. And so we've submitted that analysis to Florida Commerce and asked that they take that into consideration for the governor to then nominate Sulphur Springs based on whatever authority they have for off-list recommendations. So we're on it. Short answer is we're on it.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would just reiterate, I want us to help our small local businesses.
Javier,
And
Mary.
we have a lot of them, and their needs vary. You know, it breaks my heart when I go out and people say, you know, it's so hard to do business with the city. It's so hard. And I'm not even exaggerating. I hear it a lot. And so how do we fix that? I would love for us to be able to fix that so that people feel like they can come to us. And even if they don't qualify for something, we can help them say, okay, you're not qualifying this time, but here's what you need. Here's how we can get you so that you can qualify. And then also, we need to dedicate some more funding. Yeah.
If I may respond?
Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak. Oh,
I just want
you
to
want-
make
you-
a motion, so go ahead.
Go ahead. You wanted to respond?
Yes, Javier Marin, Councilwoman Young, thank you for the comments on Sulphur Springs. Council recently approved funding for specific to Sulphur Springs. And we're using about $60,000 to deploy outreach programs, and we're also going to bring the small business development centers into Sulphur Springs at the United Way from July 1st through September 30th, our fiscal year, to provide exactly what you asked for. So we will be working with entrepreneurs. We'll be working with people who have ideas and are in the pre-venture stage, as well as those existing businesses specific to Sulphur Springs, to be able to help them through the process. The idea would be to continue that program, and we're also working on developing some new programs that can help the community at different levels. I won't speak on the specific question on how businesses do work with the city. I would leave that to Director Bertha Mitchell with the EBO. You're going to be looking at the second reading today. And, but we do have a strong partnership where we typically send clients to them, businesses that want to work with the city, whether providing services or products.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to correct one item for the record. The $9.7 million grant that came from the CRA was given to Ashley East Tampa. It allowed for the acquisition of one site that is desperately needed for parking, and the remainder of the dollars will go for site work and infrastructure. The economic development component will benefit from the investment in infrastructure, but for the record, the $9.7 million did not come to the EDC or an EDC affiliate. It went to Ashley East Tampa to help subsidize 118 units of affordable housing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councilwoman Hurtak.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to have the EDC and city staff to both provide a written report to council on July 16th that shows how much money each organization spends on recruitment of outside businesses versus scaling up of businesses that are already here. Also, I want to show what percentage of each organization's budget is spent on outside business attraction versus scaling up businesses that are already here.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you, Javier, for all your help with everything. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our presentations and commendations. We are now to public comment. Just FYI, if you were here for any of the hearings, we have over an hour of public comment in front of us. So that's where you'll be lying somewhere. Either we may or may not get to you before lunch. Let's start with our three online. Do we have all three of them online this morning? Okay, Stephanie Pointer, if you can hear me, start with your name and you have 3 minutes. I hope you're freezing up there.
Good morning. It is kind of cold and rainy, but that's okay. I assume you can hear me.
Oh.
Hello?
There, yeah, you're a little soft, which I know you've never heard from anybody.
Can you hear me now?
We can
you
hear
me
you
better?
now.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I noticed today, when looking over my weekly agenda review, there is a theme, or a lack of a theme, but uniformity is what I was talking about, which is essential for efficiency, quality control, and risk reduction. Most important, public comment. The uniformity for public comment is essential. Everyone who's sitting in that audience today should know what the procedures are when they walk in the building, unless it's their first time. It should not be different for every kind of meeting. These procedures and the complication of public comment is becoming, it costs time, money, and energy on the part of both staff and the folks who want to come and speak before council. The second lack of uniformity that I saw in the agenda this week is with the committees. There should be a set of guidelines for those boards, for boards and committees. 7 people appointed by the council, 2 for the mayor. There should be assigned a staff position that babysits those meetings. There should be attendance rules. There should be guidelines for removal, just as there are for removal of a public official. Advertising equity should be done. When I looked at the 50+ posts on social media about all the other fluff that the city wants everybody to know about, but yet they don't advertise these positions. Internal audit should look at the policy for this particular situation. Trees, there should be uniformity in that process as well. There should be a system. Where they go, what kinds of trees we're putting in. Planted by vendors should have a 1-year guarantee, just like if you went to Lowe's or Home Depot and bought a tree. The percent of type 3 trees, the definition of what is acceptable, that should be a written amount, not willy-nilly, not somebody coming forward just like this week's agenda item that has 50% type 3 trees. I mean, really, if we're going to charge for trees, we need to be buying real trees, not just something that somebody makes up. And if you're interested in all my other commentary, please read pointeragenda.review and learn more about my commentary about what's going on this week. Have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Next, I believe we have Mr. Randolph. Mr. Randolph, if you're online, please unmute yourself and start with your name.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Randolph. Today I want to talk about our upcoming workshops. Based on businesses in West Tampa related to their issues, we're planning the following summer workshops. First, how to create a professional business plan. A step-by-step guide on forming, structuring, and launching a legitimate business that can access contracts, capital, as well as customers. How to conduct a market study, training and analyzing industries, identifying target customers, understanding competition, and using data to make informed decisions. How to complete a sales strategy. Participants learn how to build a sales pipeline, identify ideal customers, close deals, and increase revenue. AI, this is what most businesses want. AI for businesses. Hand-on training is showing entrepreneurs how to use AI to improve marketing, operation, customer service, and productivity. How to talk to lenders, investors, and politicians. A communication and confident building workshop that teaches how to pitch, advocate, negate, and build relationships. And finally, understanding MEI, a data-driven way of using my intelligence and accuracy to shape in the day's running field. So I also want to make a comment related to the cemetery. In West Tampa, we believe in no one behind, not in life and not in death. Today, we confront a painful truth. Generations of poor people were built and forgotten. This crisis echoed the bad forgotten and built on those whose lives had no value. This echoed throughout the community and demands justice. Then finally, on June the 24th, I'll be going into surgery to move some build-up plaque in my leg, and I ask for your prayers. The doctor wanted to do it for this week, and I said, no way, I'm not speaking to the city council. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Randolph, and you will certainly be in our thoughts. So our first public speakers today in council chambers is going to be Pam Cannella, followed by Missy Martin and Stephen Michelini. I'm going to try to call you all three at a time so you can prepare. Oh, I'm so very sorry, Mr. Shelby.
No, that's
Go
fine.
right ahead.
No, that's fine, Madam Chair Pro Tem. I just want to
Yes,
remind.
please go ahead.
I just wanted to remind people very briefly, because we're into public comment at this point, that items 36 through 44 are specifically designated as public hearings. So during this period of time, if you're here to speak on the consent docket or staff reports, or it's at the end of that period of off-agenda items, the time to speak now is during general public comment. But if you're here to speak through items 36 through 44, the time to speak is during the public hearing when that item is called up. Thank you.
Mr. Shelby, could you read the rules too for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Very briefly, by this point, you should have filled out a public speaker card and placed it in the box outside. The cards had been accepted and are accepted until the start of general public comment. Each person submitting a card will be recognized by name to approach and speak. And please print legibly. Names that cannot be read will not be called. And if you are here to speak at a public hearing, as I discussed, rather than fill out a card, please use the sign-in sheet that's at the podium instead. If you need assistance, please see city staff. Members of the public are allowed a reasonable opportunity at the beginning of today's meeting to address any item on the agenda before the City Council takes official action on an item. Preference under council's rules is given to those who speak on agenda items first. A 3-minute time limit applies to all speakers providing public comment. Speakers and members of the public are also reminded to please refrain from disruptive behavior, including making or vulgar or threatening remarks, or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds, or displaying signs or graphics. Please direct your comments to the entire City Council rather than individual members. The chair will rule out of order any person who speaks without being recognized or attempts to address the City Council from outside the speaker area at the podium. Persons failing to comply with the council's rules may also be ruled out of order by the chair, and at the discretion of the chair may be removed from the chambers and City Hall, Old City Hall, for the remainder of today's meeting. And finally, City Council members should refrain from engaging a speaker under public comment, and the public should be aware that the City Council does not take questions or have a dialogue during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby. And Pam Cannella, followed by Missy Martin.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pam.
I'm going to put this up because I was given this morning. My name is Pam Cannella, and I want to speak on number 51. I believe this resolution is a violation of our right to free speech, both under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 4 of the Florida Constitution. The ultimate intention of this resolution appears to be to discourage public comment by placing public comment at the end of the meeting, where the public will have no notice of the time frame, wherein they will finally be allowed to exercise their free speech rights. Many people work. They cannot sit at all day waiting for public comment to be reached, or they have other responsibilities. Parking is expensive, and bus schedules are unreliable. Placing an undue burden on the public and ultimately diminishing the opportunity for the public to speak, silencing the public's right of voice. This resolution would effectively have a chilling effect on speech. Time is everything. One such individual said to City Council on June 4th, a change on the agenda that morning confused and altered his planned out schedule. He rides the bus, and his right to speak begins with a well-planned, timed, efficient schedule. Public comment at the end of city council agenda would not allow him to do this. He will not have the opportunity for his voice to be heard, and city council will not be in compliance with the Americans with Disability Act. Allow the public to speak first, then city council can go along their business. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, good morning. Missy Martin. I'm here to speak on agenda item number 45 concerning Marti Cologne Cemetery. I didn't prepare any comments today because I feel like it's serendipity that I was asked to do the invocation this morning and the agenda item was there this morning. I guess today we're going to hear a report from staff based on a motion that a council person did a couple of weeks ago. I'm really confused, hurt and embarrassed that it took a motion for city staff to bring you guys a report on this issue. City staff should have been reporting to you all on all of the thousands of emails and letters and concerns from your constituents for the last couple of years. Our community is tired of having to beg for attention. We're tired of having to bring these types of issues to light. Thank you for Representative Alvarez for writing a letter, which I guess motivated somebody to get some information from staff and what's been going on Marti Cologne in the last couple of months. I just want to remind you all about Zion, and I want to remind you about Ridgewood, both erased cemeteries that past administrations knew there was a cemetery under there and they continued to allow development. This is the same exact thing that is happening in West Tampa at Marti Cologne. I don't understand why our city administration and our elected officials want to once again be another group of people that allow the same disgusting and embarrassing thing to happen again. Something has to be done once and for all. Our community needs answers, and we are tired of having to come here to talk about this same issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Steve Michelini, followed by Adrian Rodriguez.
Good morning, Council. I've been asked to read this into the record. You received this by email yesterday. As you know, I represent the Soho Business Alliance that involves Tampa property owners, businesses, and as well as residents. Items 34 and 35 set public hearings for the stormwater assessment for Central and Lower Basin, the same basin where $92 million in South Howard project is proposed. Some estimates are closer to $170 million. Before the council approves the public money, the public deserves to know where the allocation of funding is and where it should serve the entire community, not a singular project. For 136 days, the Alliance has been trying to obtain records for our review. We filed a public records request on February 2nd, a third one on March 26th, and we paid the city $7,600 just to get in line. On top of that, the city charged us a proposed charge of $27,000 and special service fees to document items and information already on the servers. The city told us to pay Kimmons Contracting $965 directly for an executive in Ybor for their records. We also were told to pay Atkins Realis $12,750 directly to the manager, and that was only for a narrowed of request of information. The original Atkins demand was $25,800. The March 26th request was largely a double charge for information that already exists or was purported to exist in the city system. What the city produced on June 3rd was records of 14 of the 32 items requested. 18 were nothing, no alternatives, no analysis, no design build contracts, no cost models, no engineering plans, no grant applications, and not a single email from the city from 2022. In March, the city prepared an executive summary. I need to skip to this. The city was, the circuit court agreed with us. We filed a request with the courts and entered an alternate writ of mandamus. The city has 20 days to produce records or convince a judge that it was lawfully withheld and pay the attorney's fees. Our council members deserve to know, and the public deserves to know, where the money is going to be set in this allocation. You're being asked to set a public hearing for these two assessments. It is important to know where the allocation of funds are for what part of the city, including what portion is directed for staff salaries, what portion is dedicated to actual field work, including equipment, maintenance, and repairs, as well as what new projects are being proposed. You deserve to know, and that should be requested as part of this public hearing. set
Thank you,
for
Mr.
August
McElwain.
6th. Thank you.
Adrian Rodriguez, followed by Eileen Henderson. There you are back there. I didn't see you back in the corner. And under the unlikely event that there are two Ms. Rodriguez's, I have two cards for you, by the way. Oh, okay. Good morning, love.
Good morning. I was going to ask ChatGPT to read my speech, but I don't think you would allow that, would you?
No.
Because it's going to be very hard for me to say this
Yeah,
without
start with
getting
your name,
emotional.
please.
Adrian Rodriguez. I'm going to try to get through this without being emotional. Good morning, council members. I'm here today to speak about the time-sensitive situation involving Marti Colon Cemetery in West Tampa. Today, we will more than likely hear that there's little the city can do because this is private property. But that does not explain why things changed. If this property was denied development approval in 2021 because of concerns related to cemetery burials, what changed in 2025? The property did not change, the cemetery did not change, the history did not change. So what changed? We are repeatedly told that this is private property, but private property does not exempt anyone from following the law. Ray Reed, the researcher who helped bring national attention to Zion Cemetery, has so far documented 1,050 burials at Marti Colon Cemetery. Yet only 7 documented removals have been identified. 7, not 70, not 700. 7 documented removals. If more than 1,000 burials have been documented and only 7 removals can be accounted for, then where are the people? Every time I refer to the cemetery as Marti Colon, my heart breaks a little because the Marti section of the cemetery was erased 4.5 decades ago. Today, I ask the council to continue seeking answers, not for me, not for the community, but for the people who were buried there. The dead cannot cry out for justice. It is the duty of the living to do it for them. I would like to use the remainder of my time and ask that the council and the community join me in a moment of silence to honor the memory of those buried at Marti Colon Cemetery. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Eileen Henderson, followed by Michelle Mastro-Totaro.
Good morning, Council. Eileen Henderson, founder of the Cemetery Society. Silence is powerful, isn't it? That's pretty impressive. I'm glad she did that. On my Facebook, I do a Remember the Names. So I've been posting those 1,000 unmarked graves to put a name to them so we know who they are, because that's important. I'm going to start with a little story, a little bit of a storyteller. 28 years ago, almost to date, started working for the county, public servant. I thought then, I'm doing this the rest of my life. I knew the moment I walked on a playground, this is what I would do. And in this moment, with the founding of the Cemetery Society, I now know why. because it gave me the knowledge and the experience to understand government. So I stand here today to tell you, when people say, how'd you get through 28 years and how are you going to get to your retirement? It's a simple answer. I follow the rules. I just follow the rules. We've been asking since 2024, actually since before that. Missy started this fight 10 years ago. I'm just riding her coattails. We just needed you to ask questions. We don't need to be lawyer explained later. We know you can't do anything in terms of changing what's happened. You can't change the approvals. But what you can do, you can ask the questions. I said it to you over and over again. Whoever's advising you is wrong. You can ask the questions. You know how I know that now to be true? Because there was a motion on June 4th. And you're going to have the attorney stand up here and tell us what you can't do. I sure would like to hear what you can do. But what I know you can do is ask questions. Because I sent you an email with 17 rules from your rules, council's rules, all relevant to what you can do. So that day that I started, had I known then the impact, I probably would have taken it a lot serious and paid more attention. But here I am today. Ask the questions, transparency, process, accountability. FYI, I'm moving to Sulphur Springs, so Councilwoman Naya, I'm on it. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Eileen. Mr. Daniel, can you please, your noises are really distracting, so if you would please remain silent, I'd appreciate that. Michelle Mastro-Totaro, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Mastro-Totaro, and I'm also talking about the Cologne Cemetery. I stand before you today to speak about something that should concern residents of every community, the future of Cologne Cemetery. The cemetery is not just a piece of land, it's a sacred ground, and its final resting place for mothers, fathers, veterans, children, generations of people who helped build this community. The idea of the land containing human remains could be sold, neglected, and potentially developed for housing is deeply concerning and troubling and morally wrong. The owner has apparently walked away, leaving uncertainties about the future of this historic burial site. When the cemetery is abandoned, the responsibility should not disappear with the owner. The city must step in and protect and preserve that land for future generations. Human beings are buried there. There are not vacant lots. There are graves. They deserve dignity, respect, and perpetual care. Allowing the development that disturbs burial grounds would be a betrayal of the families who loved ones rested there and a stain on community conscience. I urge the city to explore every legal avenue available to acquire, preserve, and maintain Cologne Cemetery as a protected historical sacred site. The city should ensure that no homes, commercial buildings, or future development are ever allowed to disturb this burial ground. The measures of a community is to treat its history and how to honor those who came before us. We cannot claim to value our heritage while allowing a cemetery to be forgotten or placed at risk. Today, I ask you to do what's right, protect Cologne Cemetery, preserve the history, and honor the buried there, and ensure that the sacred ground remains sacred forever. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Connie Burton, followed by James Ransom. Good morning, Connie.
Good morning, Connie Burton. I got up kind of feeling good this morning because I was thinking about 1863, the raising of the flag that indicated that somehow enslaved people was free. But just sitting here this morning, From 1863 to right now, you all know we don't have no freedom. People can give you presentations that look like me, that don't have no value of nowhere pushing the needle forward to ensure that we will have real opportunity. They can't reach their benchmark. They've been around here 15 years, but they can't tell you about one economic development plan for East Tampa, Sulphur Springs. As poor as our communities are, we don't reach the criteria for opportunity zone. You know why? Because we wasn't gonna get no damn 40 acres in a mule. Same thing. Same thing. And you all have a responsibility as our political leaders to push the ball forward. Y'all looking at all of this corruption that's going on from DC on down, and you can't do nothing about it, but your hands tied here. When we ask for simple forms of justice, you can't do any of it. As Democrats, all we can get is saying, you know what we're going to get is a nonprofit that's going to show up in the black community. They're going to collect all of the data. And you know what we're going to be? 15 years more, and we still don't have a damn thing. That's where we at. The most we going to get is item number 47. Frank Reddick's name is going to be placed on the building. He did some hard lifting. But all the black community is supposed to do is be mesmerized, because a few black folks can move forward while the majority sits still. So what's happening now, that even as you build that apartment complex on Columbus Drive, you can't even say how many poor people gonna be able to live in there. Go to Highland Pine, Northview Hills, Grant Park, East Tampa, Bama Heights, Sulphur Springs. You know what? We still living below the poverty level. You know what? Our children are still on free lunch, and guess what? Half of our black men can't get a damn job, because y'all set the rules. So this morning, as I celebrate Juneteenth, I'm always thinking forward. I ain't got no permanent friends. Politically, no political allies, until I see you carry out the mission of ensuring that prosperity reaches the people at the bottom. Because what a man eat from the top, I give less than a damn. It don't feed my family. We are sick and tired. And try to change the rule about our public comment and see what happened to your political career.
Thank you, Ms. Burton.
That's
James,
right.
James Ransom, followed by Montesno.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and City Council. I represent the Tampa Organization of Black Affairs and the Toba Foundation. I'm here with one of my colleagues from our Saturday morning breakfast group. Many of you have been at our Saturday morning breakfast group meeting.
James, start with your name, please.
James Ransom, board member of Toba. I sent you some facts and data to support a position that we wanted you to take today. You haven't decided on that yet, but we hope that you will approve our request to delay and suspend and pause the EBO ordinance. The reason for that is because we research what the city does with spending, and in the past there was some provision and guardrails around how much money the city spends equitably by race and gender. And you know what's happening federally and nationally. After looking at the last EBO report from 2024, the city spent around $760 million on awarded granted contracts, and black-owned companies only got 1.32% of those dollars. That is not race conscious, and that's not race neutral. We don't live in that kind of society. This is America. America behind us looks like everybody. And we need to know when taxpayers look like everybody and we're spending taxpayer dollars, we need to find ways to do it without sacrificing service or quality or competition, but we need to make sure it's equitable. So we're asking the city to study this. Pause for a moment. You got the program suspended, you're tracking spending. Go back to the attorney and say, can we study this and make sure that we're complying with the expectations of the taxpayers who look like everybody, including black people. So it's important that, and we hope that you support what we ask you to do. Just pause it, research it, look at doing a study, and then let's come back together and see what we can do to make the city a place where everyone can be respected and everybody can be included. And I'm open for any questions you might have.
Thank you. It's public comment. We don't do the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Montesna, followed by Valerie Bullock.
Montesna, hooroo. If you can hold my time, because I want to say this. If you look at Rule 3, number 11, on the agenda, it tells you they don't even follow their own rules. They don't even follow their own rules. Week after week after week, they don't follow their own rules. But what we need in this city, we need a black mayor. I don't care if they're Uncle Tom, Aunt Jemima. I just want to see a black mayor. That's what I want to see in my lifetime. Not y'all keep rotating and rotating and rotating. We want a black mayor. And what we also need to see is de-escalation versus escalation. They need to learn about that. De-escalation versus escalation. There's a big difference. Know why? Because white people have no probable cause to approach you in the first place. But they approach you.
Mr. Daniels, you indicated that you wanted to speak to on-agenda items. Please.
I do.
Please restrict
And
your.
if you
please
hold my
restrict-
time.
No, we're not holding your time.
If you would give me the
Start your
opportunity
time.
to articulate that agenda item, I'd be much appreciative.
Right now, start with your on-agenda items.
Yes, boss man. Yes, master. Yes, master. We're gonna see today. I'm going to jail today, partner. I'm letting you know up front. Because first and foremost, and you're gonna stop my time right now, I'm gonna stop my time. I've got a whole bunch of things to talk about that's on this agenda, but I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm gonna show you something about respect. On that card, it has Mentizna. You continuously call me Mr. Daniel. That's an insult to African people. It's an insult to me. Some black people don't want you to know their names. Some black people, we know them all their lives and we don't know their names. But we respect whatsoever you want them to call them. Junebug, homeboy, homegirl. That's respect. I'm gonna cut this short, it's very important. But it's also very important for me to put you in check. On that card, it has Mentizna. If you keep calling me Mr. Daniel, I'm gonna call you Mr. Faggot. Plain and simple.
You're out of order. Valerie Bullock, good morning, followed by Emily Hinsdale.
Good morning, Valerie Bullock from
Valerie.
Consul Leon College here. I'm here to talk about item number 3, East Tampa. We keep getting studied, keep getting another program, keep getting another nonprofit, subsidiary of nonprofit, but we're not getting economic help that we need. And I'm gonna say it again and again, the history of East Tampa. We used to have DeMari Tomato Company. We used to have Winn-Dixie Warehouse, Singleton Seafood, Florida Steel, Old 97, and we also had Tampa Made. We used to live, work, and play in East Tampa. So it's not hard, and we're not asking you all to reinvent the wheel. We're asking you all to change the spokes. We want manufacturing plants, distribution centers, and warehouses in East Tampa. Yes, we want to see the small businesses process and grow also, but I believe they can coexist because we have coexisted in the past. On 22nd Street, you had Hubcap, where we got our gas from. You had Bexley Sick Chicken. You had Sarge Grocery Store, and you had Midway Grocery Store. Those were the small businesses, and they were very successful. And we also had the big businesses, too. And that is what we want in East Tampa. Too many times, what I see, we give the nonprofits the money, and we ask questions later. EDC is not going to do nothing for East Tampa. Especially not Jackson Heights or Belmont Heights. When I was at the CRA meeting, the man said he wasn't thinking about that. He wanted incubation programs. We can have incubation programs, and while we're waiting for them to incubate, we can have jobs where people are getting paychecks from also. And I asked him, did he go out to the community and talk to people? Did he go to the churches and talk to people? Or are you just gonna throw your ideas on us? And it shouldn't be like that. We have a voice. Whether we use it or not, we have a voice, and people need to come out into the community, knock on doors, and talk to us. Ask us how it used to be, and what will it take to get back like that? Because it's sad. You see all the other neighborhoods, Jackson Heights, Belmont Heights, Sulphur Springs, we still where we was at in the 50s and the 60s. Nothing have changed. And I also want to talk about 29, the HIV/AIDS housing. How do we know the people are getting housing? Who's making that program accountable? And another thing, number 31, I talked to someone and they say the apartments, the vicinity, when they came before you all, there was 30 and 50%. Now they are at 80% AMI. He told me city council told him to change it. No longer for the people in the community, it's for firefighters,
Thank you.
nurses, and police officers.
Thank you,
That is fine.
Thank you, Valerie. Emily Hinsdale, followed by David Phillipson.
Whenever it's appropriate, after public comment, to say something, whenever, Mr. Chair, at your discretion.
After public comment. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, Emily Hinsdale, founder and president of Sidewalk Stompers, a Safe Routes to School nonprofit. I'm here to speak on agenda item 53, addressing safe routes to school needs through filling sidewalk gaps at Sulphur Springs K-8 school. This request was initiated in response to the school district's decision to shift Sulphur Springs middle school grades to other schools, starting with the 2027-28 school year. While this is not the place to discuss the district's decision, this is the place to discuss Tampa's lack of investment in safe routes to school at this and all schools within the city. Sulphur Springs K-8 does not have school buses. This means all of its students must either walk or bike or be driven to school. That leaves a lot of young children, especially when the middle schoolers leave the school, traveling alone on the streets without sidewalks. According to this Mobility Department report, it would take between $950,000 and $1.8 million to complete the Sulphur Springs sidewalk project, or 3 years at the current city sidewalk installation budget. And please note, this budget references sidewalk gaps. It does not address failing sidewalks, such as those that regularly flood when it rains or are so dimly lit that they are unsafe for kids to travel. Sidewalk Stompers will be partnering with Sulphur Springs K-8 starting this August to encourage and support students walking and biking to school. We will assist school staff with bike helmet distribution, identify walking school bus routes, and support larger groups walking together for better visibility. This is the community piece. This is what we as a nonprofit can do in partnership with Sulphur Springs' incredible PTA, school staff, and neighbors. What you can do as City Council is find funding to support sidewalk installation at this school and all the schools in our district. You will have to find some other means of securing these funds than annual budget allocation, particularly as the city budget faces hurdles like property tax changes or new stadiums. So I will reiterate a goal I have previously stated to this council. Install the school zone speed cameras and use the city portion of penalties for people illegally speeding past children's walking and biking routes to fund safe routes to school needs like this one at Sulphur Springs K-8. If you want to make a real effort to make Tampa children safe, get those cameras functioning and start spending city money where it will actually make a difference.
Thank you, Emily. David Phillipson, followed by Ashley Morrow. Good morning, David. Start with your name, please.
David Phillipson. My last name is spelled Philipsen for the record. I'd like to talk about citizens' comments and the possibility of moving it to the end of the meeting. When I was in Brooksville, they had comment cards, but only for agenda items. When you would go before their county commission, you would just speak. It would just be citizens' comments, and there would be no comment cards or anything like that. I believe that when you try to implement like digital comments, it can sometimes be very confusing, and I've actually have been on the bad side of that where it just didn't work. And, you know, I'm more of a person-to-person type interaction type of guy anyway. You are elected to be a servant of the people. I do not drive. Due to my disability, I have to call transportation at least 24 hours ahead of time. I also propose an idea, because it seems like you're getting a lot of flack for this. What you could do is a town hall. It would be at night. It would be, you'd get more of a turnout. It was just an idea, because like I said, the digital comments, they don't work for me, and I'm not willing to spend about $580 on a brand-new laptop. And the other thing I could think of is you can't even call in the comments, like a teleconference. That doesn't work according to your staff. And as the first speaker had said, yeah, it is kind of limiting my participation if I can't access it remotely. So I'm better off just coming here. But like she said, a lot of people work, a lot of people pay taxes, and you got to remember, you're a servant of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Have a beautiful day. Ashley Morrow, followed by James Adair. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Ashley Morrow, and I'll be sharing Tampa's Black History. So, the past couple weeks, we've been talking a little bit about the Afro-Cuban topic, specifically on Paulina Pedroso. I am reading a book by Susan Greenbaum, and then I got a few numbers here last week, and I will follow up with them, but I'm going to move forward while I'm reading the book and doing some self-searching and self-researching. So we're going to hop back over to specifically Tampa's Black community, African-American community, and we talked about the Tampa Black Militia that was formed in 1870. And I showed it to you guys some weeks ago when I initially came here. That was one of my big topics, that we actually had a Black militia here 5 years after Juneteenth. And I thought that was a big deal. When I went to Florida Memory, I found that muster roll, but it said 1890. So I contacted them and let them know it's actually 1870 and sent them some newspaper documents. And they changed it. So shout out to Nicolou for changing it. I love him for that. So he said, let me know if there's anything else. So we will continue doing that research. The Watchman Club, like I said, was formed 1894 by these black men. The leader was Thomas McKnight, who was also the captain of the Black militia. All right? And the club was formed as a civic organization. They organized themselves. They realized they had power in their vote, much like we do today, if we organize and come together. All right? They went through great efforts to make sure that everybody was registered like we do today. And I'm pretty sure with the population being a lot smaller, that was probably a lot easier of a task. But there are a great amount of black people here in Tampa registered. We just have to get out and vote. So please go vote in November and stay aware. August. And stay aware. August. I'm used to saying November, sorry. And then they acted as a community of advocates and wanted to protect their youth. So here, I call this clipping the fun suckers because they didn't want the kids to be going to the dance halls. They didn't want them to be outside at night. They actually planned an Emancipation Day proclamation event. It was a celebration. So they were very active in their community, and I thought that was a big deal. They were called the Watchmen's Club, again, if you have not been listening. Thomas McKnight, he was the organizer and the leader, again, of this Watchmen's Club. I don't have a picture of him, actually, and that's upsetting. I am officially a 501c3 nonprofit, so we're registered. Y'all can give a little, here you go. Thank you. Thank you. We can't clap, we can't clap, we can't clap. Okay, so my goal is to, no clapping. My goal is to do an annual trip to the Legacy Museum with a charter bus full of kids. So that is my goal. Next summer, next summer. We'll have a sign or something.
That's right. We're celebrating good things today. My name is James Adair, the neighbor who cares. And we got a couple of cool things going on. I just want to celebrate that door don't squeak no more. All right. Us community advocates can be very tough on stormwater and all things related to those. those issues. And make no bones about it, we've been pushing hard. I got 111,000 lines of data from their internal workforce management. And as I was going through it to gather the information for the Gasparilla numbers, I discovered some productivity that I thought was really worth celebrating. We were able to look up January through April of 2025 versus January through April of this year. And by golly gee, we are almost 300%, 270% better year over year. Those are amazing numbers. Like, you can't even imagine how much better it is from 25 to 24, obviously. But man, to jump like that is amazing. They did some staff changes. However they're managing the schedule now is a heck of a lot better. I will note we do have that contractor we've talked about. Just the city crews alone did 2.3%, and then the contractor was only responsible for the other portion. So the guys on the ground, you're doing a great job. Thank you, and keep it up. Oh, and we got merch. We're gonna start selling merch. Just kidding, we're not selling it.
Wow. C.T. Harris, followed by Alex Stein.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
My name is C.T. Harris. I am here about item 51 and the proposed amendments to the City Council's Rules of Procedures. However, I would also like to speak to the EBO item. I stand with the community and Toba's request for postponing this vote. As the City of Tampa's first small business navigator, I know all too well why programs like this are needed, the importance of making sure that there are diverse procurement, there are diverse procurement opportunities for small businesses, because our small businesses are the backbone of this great economy. So with that being said, please know that I do stand with them when you all begin to discuss, but I do hope that you postpone it. Now, I want to begin by saying that I do understand the need for order, efficiency, and structure. We know rules and procedures do matter, but there is something that matters even more, and that is the public's ability to participate in their government. The first responsibility of any government body is the people's business. The public should never become an afterthought in a process that exists because of the public. We're all here because of the public. We are the public. I urge you today to carefully examine whether these changes will increase civic participation or create additional barriers to it. We must be cautious not to unintentionally overregulate, overpolice, or stifle the voices of residents, particularly those who already face challenges being heard. If we say we are for the people, then we must react in the people's best interest, not our own personal vendettas or agendas. Working class residents, hourly employees, caregivers, seniors, and those without flexible schedules often have limited opportunities to engage with local government. For many, attending a city council meeting requires taking time off work, arranging childcare, or sacrificing income. And let's be very clear about something. City council does not hold regular night meetings. They're in the daytime. Night meetings are for something totally different. While that may be convenient for elected officials and staff, it is certainly not more convenient for the people working 8 to 5 jobs who elected you to represent them. When public meetings are held during traditional business hours, many residents are effectively excluded from participating in the democratic process. We should be discussing ways to expand access, not further limit it. Government functions best when the public feels welcomed into the process, not managed around it. The strength of our democracy is not measured by how quickly we move through our agenda. It is measured by how accessible government remains to the people that it serves. Each of you sit on the dais, because the people entrusted you with that responsibility. Your role is not simply to govern, it is to listen. It is to engage. It is to ensure that every resident, regardless of their work, schedule, income, and my time is up.
No applause.
I'll be back next week.
Nope. Alex Stein, followed by Mr. Hayes. Good morning, Alex. Start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name's Primetime Alex Stein, and I'm here in Tampa representing the Raise Before Gays Coalition. I feel like it is ridiculous that we are spending millions of dollars for gay rights, gay pride parades, when we can't get the Del Mabry Stadium even over the finish line. It's ridiculous. You're going to prioritize gay people instead of the great Tampa Bay Rays. And I, as a sports fan, think that it's unnecessary to put pride flags on athletes' hats, because all a pride flag symbolizes is who your sexual preference is. And I don't think sexual preference should be around children, especially sporting events. And for one, I will say that two gay guys can be real. They can have sex. They have an input and, whole. But two women cannot have sex. Being a lesbian is fake. I know it. Everybody here knows it. That is called being in a phase. When two gay guys kiss, that's gay. Am I right? Yes. When two lesbians kiss, that is a Katy Perry song. And you know who I think the biggest offender of that is Jane Castor. I don't believe that she's a real lesbian. And I mean that because all of a sudden she's a 2009 DEI hired police chief and she got the job because she likes to get freaky deaky with chicks. Well, I don't think that she should get a job because she's a sexual pervert. And we need to call that out. So this is what I'm saying. This is a great city, and I agree, we need a black mayor. My grandfather owned plantations, well, great-great-great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandmother was a slave. So I'm on both sides of the argument, so I do believe in reparations. So when I come to Tampa and I see all of these people struggling behind me, calling you out for your incompetence, and you do nothing, you sit there on your phones and disregard their struggles while you sit around and spend all of your government-earned paycheck trying to make it harder to speak at a city council meeting because you don't want to hear what the people have to say. Well, let me tell you what they have to say. They do not like the job you're doing. Jane Castor is not a real lesbian. She's doing that for clout. Two girls can't make a baby. That's all fake and gay. And I will also say this. There's a great broadcaster by the name of Bubba the Love Sponge. He has been an icon in Tampa radio for years. I believe that he deserves a key to the city. He was best friends with Hulk Hogan, and Hulk recently passed away. Rest in peace. We love Hulk. And I would think that you would treat your legendary broadcasters like Bubba the Love Sponge with more respect. But you treat the city and the people of the city disrespectfully. You let a mayor lie about her sexuality. You won't even get a stadium for the baseball team while simultaneously yelling at the people that are struggling to make ends meet. And I know for a fact that this city could be great. But because of the leadership, I'm looking at you. This city will never achieve the greatness that it deserves. And why these people struggle, and Jane Castor lies about scissoring with her, divorced wife and this and that. We know that's all fake. That's why she's getting divorces. And if you actually look up the stats, did you know lesbians have the highest occurrence of divorce? So it's a pain in the ass to date a woman. All right, thank you. That's my time.
Thank you. Mr. Hayes, followed by Carol Ann Bennett. There's my favorite doggy. Hi, Cairo.
Grand Rising, good morning, City Council, women and men. Ryan Hayes. Wow. Whew, all right, so that was a lot happening.
Start with your name again.
All right, Ryan Hayes, Tampa native, founder and president of Cairo and Friends. Come here, baby. I'm going to make this quick. I'm here because of a development milestone that Cairo and Friends has reached solely on our own with hard work and determination, just so I can kind of set a measurement. I want to highlight another wonderful nonprofit organization. Can the camera see that? All right, Feeding Tampa Bay. They're amazing. They help out, food pantries and everything. They have a very well-presented Google review status, and I would just like to highlight a legendary nonprofit organization, Tampa, Florida. We've been able to obtain this with nonstop dedication to servicing our local individuals and families, especially during Hurricane Helene and Milton. That's when I believe that Cairo and Friends started to truly flourish, because we knew what it was like to lose everything within a 13-day span of those two natural disasters. And I just really wanted to highlight this. You don't have to believe me. You can run it through ChatGPT, Grok, whatever AI services that you use, and just see what it would take for an individual with no staff, no budgeting, no grants, no funding, nothing of the sort to accumulate something of this magnitude. And I just wanted to highlight that, and thank you very much for what you do. And that was a tough act to get behind. And thank you, everybody, for speaking on behalf of the city of Tampa and your perspectives and everything, and I'll leave it at that. And everyone have a great and positive day.
Does Cairo want to speak?
Do you want to speak, boy? Huh?
Start with your name.
I'll put
Start
him
with
up
your
here.
name. You have
Oh,
3
he's a
minutes.
big boy.
Start
This
with your
is
name. You have
Cairo
3 minutes.
Hayes, and he's my service dog right here. 10 years old, and his birthday is July 17th.
Very good. Happy birthday, Cairo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great day.
Thank you. Carol Ann Bennett, followed by closing it out with Robin Lockett.
Carol Ann Bennett, founding member of TTAG. First, I would like to say I strongly support the people you've heard speak about the Marti Cologne Cemetery. They expressed it better than I can. I'd also like to give my strong support for Rick Pfeiffer for the VRB. I've been involved with the VRB and problems with it. I've met with the legal department going back to 2023. I've begged this man to apply. His qualifications with his degree in public policy. He was on the Realtors Association Government Affairs Committee. Please put him on the VRB. Now I'm talking about agenda item number 7. I want to commend the price that Nelson's Tree Farm has come in for the planting. It's amazing. I don't know why we're not getting that price for all our planting. But I want to clarify a lot of discussion that you all have heard. I want to make sure you understand that when we talk about tree type 1, 2, and 3, and we talk about tree species, they're 2 separate things. Tree type is just basically what the tree looks like. Type 1's tall and wide, type 2's tall and narrow, type 3 is short. When we talk about species, and when they talk about when the experts talk about diversity of species, they're talking about this, not tree type, species. On the Tampa Tree Code, type 1, there are 46 species of type 1 trees. So we can plant 46 different kinds of type 1 trees. They're all type 1, but we're getting the species diversification we need. Type 2, and they're not even all on this page, there's 19. I wrote the tree code. I know what it says. I know the purpose. I met with Chelsea Johnson, Tree Something, Say Something, and all the other founding members of TTAG, along with the Tampa Bay Builders Association and Steve Michelini. We met every week for a year and a half. We wrote the tree code. We know what the purpose was. And guess what? It says right here. This is the mitigation. Mitigation is where the funds come from. The intent is to require mitigation to preserve the urban forest canopy. So we keep saying tremendous, planted in the front yards. And they say, oh, we can't plant on private property. Not true. I know. Replacement may occur on the land specified or described below. Privately owned lands. You don't have to change the code. Change it to be more specific, sure, but you don't have to. It says right there, it can be on privately owned lands. This also, any lands described in section 284.42. Do not spend tree trust fund money on type 3 trees. Authorize the type 1s and the type 2s. Change the tremendous so that they can plant in front yards, because if they can plant in front yards, then they can plant type 1s and type 2s. Don't fund type 3 trees out of the tree trust fund. Yes, we understand that they're important, but the city is not funding the urban forestry compared to 667 others.
Thank you, Carol Ann.
Thank you.
Robin Lockett, let's bring it home. You're the last public speaker.
Oh, good. Okay. Hey, everybody, Robin Lockett. First of all, I have a couple things I want to cover. Public comment. You open up a can of worms when you're asking this question, because some may think that you need to change the time of the meeting. Some may think that public comment should stay in the forefront at the beginning. Signing up for public comment online, right? You only give, you have to sign up within a 24-hour period or something like that. That's difficult. So this is an opportunity, since the can has been open, that you really look at it and get feedback from the community, along with thinking thoroughly to yourselves, or for yourselves, how to really make this holistically right and available for everybody. I support the Marti Cologne Cemetery efforts with Eileen. So please look at this and really think through it, because there's a lot of cemeteries. This guy is buying the property to build on it, and we know that. So there's something wrong with that, and we just really have to be a forward thinker in regards to it. The EDC project, I support this project, and I supported it when it first came about. But with this project, it is council's and the administration's responsibility to require checks and balances. I love what you said today, Lynn, in regards to Councilwoman Hurtak, in regards to the checks and balances, right? Having conversations with the communities, because the community is a gem. It's a gem. We have small businesses there. Councilwoman Naya Young, she spoke about it today, right? We have everything there. Let's shine up what we have, provide them with the technology, build them up, and then look at what we'll need afterwards. We keep pushing things in. I support this project because of affordable housing, manufacturing opportunities, but primarily because of affordable housing. When it comes up, now we have to decide on what affordable housing is. Not no 120%, not going for it. That can be a part of it, but it has to be mixed, and it has to be feasible for that community. So keep the checks and balances, because that's the requirement of council, and that's what I'm looking for you guys to do.
Thank you, Ms. Lockett. Very good. That concludes public comment. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I apologize. In our review of the agenda, I should have mentioned the fact that I have been working with staff, and I do have a follow-up on the sidewalk motion that I had for item 53. So I do have a follow-up today and a motion to move some of that forward. And I just wanted you all to be aware of it so that you don't have to worry about it and work on it now. Item 53 was about the safe routes to school and filling sidewalk gaps.
Will you bring that during new business?
Yes, but I wanted everyone to know so that no one has to do any work between now and then.
Okay.
I have worked with, because I'm the chair of the mobility department now, I've worked with mobility, I've worked with some community members on
Okay.
it. So just to be aware that that's coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilman Carlson?
Yeah, two things. One, I'd like to, now that it's after 10, I'd like to make a motion to continue number 39, file number E2026-8, CH26.5 to August 27th.
What number again, Mr. Chair?
Do we need to open?
39.
Do we need to open the public hearings to be able to continue it?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to open all public, 10 to 10:30 public hearings? I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. I have a motion from Councilman Carlson to continue item 39 to
August
June.
27th.
What is it?
August 27th.
August 27th.
Is that that's an open date, Madam Clerk?
Oh, and I apologize for that, if I may intervene.
Hold on a second. So
that date.
is it about the, okay. You have a comment about that date?
Councilman Carlson, let me take a look at that date, because that's when I was going to move the public safety master plan I'd mentioned.
You moved something this morning over there, so.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry.
That's a second
It's
reading.
open. It's open.
And that's
I
also
apologize.
second reading.
Councilwoman Hurtak?
Thank you. I support moving this forward because I didn't vote for this. I don't think it's appropriate. So I'm glad that you all are taking the time to pause and reconsider.
Okay, I had a motion for Councilman Carlson. The second was from Vera, was that right?
Mr.
Councilman Vera?
Chairman, again, date, time, and place.
August 27th.
August 27th,
August 27th, 10 a.m., Old City Hall, what's it, 315 East Kennedy, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
10 a.m. Okay, very good. Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vera. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Councilman Carlson?
Yeah, I think all of us probably would like to say something about free speech. And I'll let Marty speak about it. In the era of free speech, there are a lot of things that we might personally not agree with, but Marty will tell us what the rules about free speech are.
And if I can, I just want to give you a heads up, Council. I hope that by the end of the day, whatever time it is, that you have the opportunity to give this your full attention. I will be presenting with the city attorney.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. We'll hold that conversation until that point because we are way behind and we have a lot of people waiting. We are moving on to board and administrative appointments. Item number 4. Our wonderful clerk, start with your name.
Good morning, Shirley Fox Knowles, City Clerk. I'm here regarding the Variance Review Board. We have 5 people that have applied for the board. We have 3 of them present and 2 not present. But anyway, let's look at the ones that are present.
Ms. Fox, can you just clarify that, I understand the 2 that are not present, it's not because they didn't want to be here, they were out of town?
Right.
Okay.
Ones that are present, Richard Pfeiffer, Michelle Mastro-Taro, and the 3rd one is Michael Leeds. If you hear.
Okay. So if you would like to speak to city council, you may line up against the wall. And I'll take them in the order that you guys are lined up on the wall, or any order you want. Start with your name. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes.
I wasn't sure what I was going to have to do with this. This is Rick Pfeiffer. Good morning, council members. Thank you. I have not asked to be on anything. In like 3 decades, only Mr. Miranda was on council the last time I served, and that was over cell phone towers. I've got some time since I've kind of decided to move towards semi-retirement. I've got other things I can do with my time, and I wanted to find ways to get back. And that's literally, other than the fact that I did get a call from Stephanie asking me to please put myself in for something finally. But that's my reason for today. I think I've got the skills, the ability, the background. Most of you only know me by my time in real estate, but I worked for DCF for a number of years, 16 of them. I used to do contract management. I used to license adult care homes, so I'm also good at looking at regulations. I was involved through the whole Seminole Heights form-based zoning thing, so I'm familiar with the rules and stuff, so thank you for considering me.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please. Start with your name.
Michael Leeds. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of council. I'm excited about the opportunity to secure a position on the City Variance Review Board. I'm a 31-year Tampa City resident and county resident, and currently live on Harbor Island. I have an office on South Boulevard. I run a development company, Shagbark Properties, and have been in the commercial real estate development and redevelopment business for almost 35 years. My main clients are public supermarkets and Wawa. I also develop for other QSR uses, coffee users, banks, auto parts, things like that. Some noteworthy city projects that I have been involved in is the Publix on Azeel and Platt with the parking garage above. That's quite some time ago. I also developed Publix at Britton Plaza, and that was rebuilt. And most recently, I did the Publix on Gandy next to the Target. Giving back is a core value of mine. I'm currently involved in many organizations. I'm involved with the Take Stock in Children program through Hillsborough Education Foundation. I've been mentoring high school students for almost 15 years. I've recently got involved in Starting Right Now, which is a similar organization, helping the executive team on an exciting new project. I'm a volunteer diver at the Florida Aquarium. And as of 2 months ago, I joined the city's advisory committee, LDC committee, to fill a vacancy. And I also spent 3 terms on the Channel Side CAC committee, working in that organization. I'd like to be on the VRB board to put my extensive real estate professional experience to good use and to volunteer my time for the city. I fully understand the variance process and the intention of it only being applicable in hardship cases. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thanks.
Michelle?
Good morning. My name is Michelle Mastro-Taro. I thank you for this opportunity today. As you all know me, I am seeking the position for this part to be the Variance Review Board because I bring something that is often missing from land use discussions, a perspective of an everyday resident who has personally experienced the impact of the development decisions. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I do not work in real estate. I am not a developer, nor a contractor, an investor, or a broker, or any of who stand to profit from outcomes of variance requests. The only interest is serving the public fairly and protecting the long-term interests of our community. Over the years, I have watched natural areas disappear, trees removed, wildlife habitat disturbed, and neighborhoods drastically change. I have seen how decisions made in meetings can affect flooding, traffic, quality of life, and the character of the entire community involved. Those experiences have given me a deep appreciation for why a variance process matters. A variance review board member should not approach applications with a predetermined yes or no. Every case deserves to be judged on its own facts, its merits, and its impact on surrounding communities. That is exactly how I would serve. I believe the public deserves confidence and decisions are being made objectively. While many professionals contribute valuable expertise, I believe there is tremendous value in having board members who are completely independent from any apparent conflict of interest. If appointed, I will be prepared to listen carefully, I will ask thoughtful questions, and I will treat every applicant and every resident with respect. Most importantly, I make the decisions based on facts, fairness, transparency, and law, not politics, pressure, or proper personal gain. I have 6 years of advocating for areas that are vulnerable in Tampa. I'm very involved and passionate in this position and well-knowledged on all aspects. Our city needs growth that is responsible, balanced, and accountable. I am committed to protecting both property that are private, public interest. I believe my independence, my commitment to honesty, and my firsthand understanding of how development affects residents makes me a unique candidate and well qualified to serve on this board. I would be honored to earn your trust and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will
Michelle,
do
do you
my
serve on,
job.
do you currently serve on any other boards?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ms. Fox, can you remind us of the other two names that the applicants?
We have two other applicants, Paul Elette and Lolita Campbell.
Thank you.
They're both out of town.
Thank you so much.
I believe you have a ballot.
Yes, we are distributing the ballots as we speak. Council, would you please indicate on the ballot your vote? What is the date today? And now somebody play the Jeopardy music. Dun, 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 dun.
Gonna cause the city to get a copyright ding.
That's true. You only do it less than 30 seconds, right? I think it's a 30-second deal. Or we could do the Benny Hill.
Why don't you just do the Jungle Cruise?
Welcome aboard, thrill seekers and danger lovers. My name's Alligator Allen. I'm here to welcome you aboard this cruise of adventure.
I will be there Saturday now.
Well, yeah, good.
I don't know if the public knows what that is. You do it so well, but I don't know if they know the context of that.
At a much younger age, I was a skipper on the Walt Disney World Jungle Cruise. Yes. Along with many other.
This is how we keep ourselves entertained when we can't talk about sunshine stuff.
Yeah. We could practice our karaoke.
We talk about horses and the Jungle Cruise.
Do we already have results?
Yes.
That was fast.
Shirley Fox knows, City Clerk. We have the results. Mr. Pfeiffer received a vote from Councilmember Miranda, Hurtak, Clendenin, and Vieira, 4. And Michelle Mastro Taro received 3 votes from Councilmember Maniscalco, Young, and Carlson. Therefore, Mr. Pfeiffer received the most votes.
Mr. Chairman,
Congratulations, Mr. Shelby.
at this point, I would like to ask for a motion and vote accepting Mr. Pfeiffer as the selection.
I have a motion to accept Mr. Pfeiffer as the selected official on the Variance Review Board from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
And Mr. Chairman, I will be bringing back a resolution for you to sign by the end of today's meeting.
Thank you. And I want to, for Mr. Lead, you're infinitely qualified, and because you're serving on the LDC, I just wanted to kind of share the wealth with other folks, you know, to spread it out. But when you come off of that committee, if you come forward for another request, we have tons of committees. I'd love to welcome you back onto another committee. And for Michelle, you know, you're fighting up against a real estate dude, so he's got some, you know, the qualifications. But hopefully there's another committee that you can apply for, because we have a lot of opportunities. Thank you so much. Thank you for expressing that. And for the 2 that are not here, please apply again, because again, we have lots of opportunities for citizens to be a participant in our citizen advisory committees. Never a shortage of committees, always a shortage of applicants. Okay, we are now to request. Is there any request by the public for reconsideration of legislative matters? Hearing none, we're on to the consent agenda. Councilman Vieira, would you please move items 5 and 6?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You have a really long list, Councilwoman Young, this morning. Would you please move item 8?
Oh, I move item number 8.
Second.
Thank you. A motion from Councilwoman Young, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Maniscalco, would you move 9 through 19?
I move items 9 through 19.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Miranda.
Wait.
Oh.
Did he just want, you wanted a separate vote?
Yeah, I just wanted a
You
separate
said-
vote.
Oh, then I move item number 20.
Okay, very
separate
good.
vote.
I thought we were going to discuss it. Okay, a motion to move item number 20. Who was the second? Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried with Carlson voting no and Hurtak being absent at vote.
Thank you so much. Finance Committee, Councilman Miranda, 21 through 24.
Chairman, I move 21 through 20. Second.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
No, it was
Okay.
the tree one.
Yeah, we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Carlson, 25 through 31.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilwoman Hurtak, 32 and 33.
I move items.
Second.
I move items 32 and 33.
A motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to set the public hearings for 34 and 35? I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from
Second.
Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we are at 11:27, and we're at the 10 o'clock public hearings. These first are non-quasi-judicials. They do not require people to be sworn in. They are second readings. Item number 36. Staff?
Good morning, Chair, City Council, Michelle Van Loan Real Estate. Number 36 is a second reading for the honorary naming for Officer Morris Lopez, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have. This is for an honorary street naming at the southeast corner of East 9th Avenue and North 18th Street.
Thank you. I was going to have you read it, but I see those lights on. Did you guys want to speak to this? Anybody? No? What's that?
Public.
Oh, yeah, I'm responding to my council members that are asking me things. Okay. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak to item 36? Hearing none. Can I get a motion to close?
Second.
A motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. Councilman Vieira, would you please read item 36? Oh, all those in favor of closing, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Councilman Vieira.
And may I say something briefly for 30 seconds?
Briefly.
Before? Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. No, just wanted to say congratulations, or strike that, I should say my salute to the Lopez family and everybody for this. This is a wonderful thing and a story of real heroism and sacrifice from one of our Tampa police officers, Officer Morris Lopez, and I know obviously Assistant Chief Morris Lopez, his son Nicholas, and others. So I'm, again, thrilled to see this through, and thank you, Council, for your support. for this and staff for your hard work. So if I may, I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, approving the placement of an honorary street naming sign, at the southeast corner of East 9th Avenue and North 18th Street in Tampa, Florida, to honor Officer Morris Lopez, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Vera, a second from Councilman Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 37.
Michelle Van Loan Real Estate. Item number 37 is a second reading for an amendment to the honorary naming ordinance number 2023-156 that had already approved an honorary street name sign in honor of Mr. Alessi. This amendment would change the approved location from Cypress and Paddock to the intersection at Cypress and Gomez, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? Does anybody in the public wish to speak to this item? Mr. Michelini.
I'm here representing the Alessi family. I'd just like to say to the council and the
Start
staff,
with your name.
thank you.
What's your name?
I said Steve Michelini.
Did you? Okay, very good. Okay, anybody else? That's it? Can I get a motion to close? Motion to close, Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Very good. Councilman Maniscalco, this was your motion. Would you like to read this one?
Thank you very much. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, amending ordinance number 2023-156 to change the location of the honorary street sign for Phil Alessi Sr. from the intersection of West Cypress Street and North Paddock Street to the intersection of West Cypress Street and North Gomez Avenue in the City of Tampa, Florida, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those, please record your vote, please. Record your vote. Just record it.
Motion carried unanimously.
Automatic mode. Very good. Thank you. Item number 38.
Morning, Carl Brody, Legal Department. I'm here for second reading on the Veteran Advisory Committee ordinance. This would create an advisory committee as directed by council, reduced to 11 members, actually 9 of which have to be veterans under your 75% requirement. And the purpose is have a group to help coordinate veterans activities in the city. We request approval.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Anybody in the public wish to speak to this item?
Move to close.
I have a motion to close for Councilman Miranda, second for Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Louis, yeah.
Sure. I might as well, right? And thank you, Mr. Brody, for that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, which is that we're welcoming here in the City of Tampa our American National Gold Star Mothers Organization for their convention. And those seats that are not held for veterans will be from Gold Star families. So I look forward to this wonderful board. So if I may, I read an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance of the City of Tampa amending Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City of Tampa Code by adding Section 2-326 definitions, Section 2-327 Veterans Advisory Committee, Section 2-328 meetings, Section 2-329 purpose and function, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Vera, second from Councilman Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you so much. Item number 40.
Good morning, council members. My name is Beth Lee with the City Attorney's Office. I am the new attorney replacing McLean Evans. So this is a second and final public hearing for a proposed Brownfield area designation of a property consisting of 4 adjoining parcels that are generally located at 1411 North Ashley Street, 103 East Laurel Street, 1200 North Tampa Street, and 1312 Tampa Street. The City of Tampa is requesting designation of these properties as a brownfield area to assist in the assessment and remediation of environmental impacts that may exist on the property. Details of the designation have been outlined in a document entitled Staff Report on Royal Street Brownfield Area Designation, which is available for public review at the City Clerk's office and online and on base. City staff have determined that all statutory and public notice requirements have been met and recommends that the council approve this designation. At the conclusion of this second public hearing, council will have an opportunity to also adopt a resolution designating Royal Street as a brownfield area as specified in Chapter 376 of Florida statutes. Staff and I are available for questions if you have any.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Anybody in the public wish to speak to item number 40? Can I get a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco to move the resolution, second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 41.
Hello again, my name is Beth Lee with the City Attorney's Office. This is the second and final public hearing for a proposed brownfield area designation of a property consisting of 2 adjoining parcels that are generally located at 1125 and 1127 East Twiggs Street. The City of Tampa is requesting designation of these properties as a brownfield area to assist in the assessment and remediation of environmental impacts that may exist on the properties. Details of the designation have been outlined in a document entitled Staff Report on Madison Street Park Expansion Brownfield Area Designation, which is available for public review at the City Clerk's office and online and on base. City staff have determined that all statutory and public notice requirements have been met and recommends that council approve this designation. At the conclusion of this second public hearing, council will have an opportunity to adopt a resolution designating Madison Street Park Expansion a brownfield area as specified in Chapter 376 of the Florida statutes. Staff and I are available for questions.
Council have any questions? Hearing none. Anybody in the public wish to speak to this item? I have a motion to close, Councilman Maniscalco, second Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. I have a motion to move the resolution, item number 41, from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 42.
Thank you.
Ross Salmon's Development Coordination. Presenting file number VAC 26-03. Get the clerk to share that on the screen, please. The applicant is North Boulevard Townhomes LLC. The property address is 3917 North Boulevard. This is a proposed vacating request to vacate a portion of the east-west alleyway lying north of Virginia Avenue, south of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, east of North Boulevard, and west of Clearfield Avenue. This application was filed in the City of Tampa on December 2nd, 2025. The right-of-way is unimproved. The right-of-way was created by subdivision plat. The existing right-of-way is approximately 1,362 square feet. Previous vacating of the subject portion of the alley was approved per ordinance number 2009-82. However, the applicant failed to satisfy the conditions of that approval, and the ordinance was void, and the vacating is no longer valid. An additional petition to vacate the subject portion of the alley, identified as VAC 21-19, was heard on February 10th, 2022. That petition was denied. The reason of the request is the alley falls in the middle of the development area. A site plan has been uploaded for clarification. This is an aerial view of the vacating request in yellow and the petitioner's property in red. The City of Tampa Atlas sheet showing the proposed vacating request here. And the plat that dedicated the alley, the proposed vacating in red. There's an image of a general location of the alley. This is looking south from Martin Luther King Boulevard. Here is approximate location of the east-west alley. And this is looking east from North Boulevard. Again, approximate location is here. Staff has no objections to the vacating request. Easement reservations are required by Spectrum, TECO, and wastewater. Special conditions are natural resources, comply with Chapter 27 as regards to tree preservation and site design for any improvements placed adjacent to trees in any vacated area. That concludes my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Applicant?
Chairman.
Mr. Shelby.
Yes, before the applicant begins, just a refresher to council, and I just wanted to make it known that I have distributed a 2011 memo that we are all very familiar with, a review of applications for vacations of rights-of-way. And on the second page, you'll see numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the criteria that was presented in this memo to guide council on making its decision.
Thank you very much.
I'll get a copy of that into the record if necessary.
Does the applicant have a copy of that?
Do you have would you like a copy of that, Mr.? You're familiar with
Yes,
that
sir.
memo?
I'm familiar with it, but
You'd like a copy?
sure as,
I'll be
might as
happy.
well.
I'll be happy to give you. Oh, you want that? There you go.
You're right, it should be 1. There you go.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. This application is coming to you as a result of trying to consolidate the property. The unused alley bifurcates the property, and it restricts the ability to consolidate and develop the property as one site. This is a T-shaped alley. This is the only portion being requested for vacating. The property owner owns the property north and south of the requested vacating. This portion of the alley is obstructed with trees, as well as this portion of the alley. That's not part of this petition, but I just wanted to point out that in terms of a design and with respect to a subdivision and an alley being platted, this hasn't been used and it won't be used. The city has determined that it has no public purpose for that alley, and it does qualify under the criteria because it doesn't have any, there's no public purpose associated with it. This this is a close-up of the property that's actually the petitioner, but the owner owns this one and this one as well. And this portion here is their requested vacating. Here's an overview, and it shows you that even though this alley is platted, we're still reserving the rights for anyone who wishes to try to access it. They still can, although it is obstructed east-west and north-south. This again is the property requesting the vacating, and the property owner is this, and as well as this. So all of the surrounding property owners, except those to the east, are owned by the property owner. The city staff showed you this picture. This is the western portion of that area that is designated as an alley, but obviously it's no longer functions that way. Just to the east of there are fences across here, so you couldn't go eastbound in this area anyway, even if you open it up on this side. And this is a close-up showing you the obstructions that exist in the alley, going to the east and also going north and south. This is the approximate location of the alley that's being requested to be vacated. And I showed you this picture already, showing you it's a portion. It does not vacate the entire alley that's being requested, only a small section. I did receive a letter of objection this morning, and one of the things that puzzles me a little bit is that, council adopted rules that require any petitioner to notify surrounding property owners and homeowner associations when you file an application. And they also require you to notify them when you have a hearing date set. And to suddenly file an objection the night before a hearing is not consistent with the spirit in which the city council adopted those rules. However, I'll read from their objection briefly. The official adopted neighborhood plan encourages retention and use of alleys and public access. There is no public access. The retention is only on paper and is a theoretical sense, not a practical one. And it says consistently opposed, the association consistently opposes vacating as they contribute to the unique urban design. I would say that considering that this property owner wishes to consolidate the properties that he owns and bring in one development instead of having to split it into two different developments is consistent with what the city is wishing to have done. It also enables a project to move forward that is more consistent with what the city is looking for, long range and short range. With respect to the policies of vacating the right-of-way, the easement or is such a violation of upon a vacation, sufficient public interest to justify the vacating. The city staff has already told you they have no interest in it. We have to reserve easements over the property, over that. So there's no physical construction that can go on that when the easements remain. It's no longer a street or highway. It's no longer useful or convenient to the public. The vacating the street used only for members of this public, for this property. That's the only one that has any interest in use of that particular portion of the alley. Based on the reports and evidence presented at the public hearing, you've been presented with a report from city staff saying they had no objections for the exception of the easements being reserved. And will the abutting property owners remain access? In this case, the abutting property owners here still have access to this portion, the north-south and the east-west portion. The only one affected by this vacating is the property owner who owns both sides of the alley. Will it foster redevelopment of the abutting properties? Yes, it will. In the future, if we can get this consolidated by approving a vacating, it will enable that property to act as one parcel and not as two separate parcels. Can the general public interest be served by approving the vacating petition and the special conditions opposed? Yes. This will serve a general purpose and the intent of the code, as well as assisting in redevelopment of this corner. If vacating is an alley and the entire alley being vacated, no, it's not. Only a portion of it is being requested to be vacated, and then a proper turnaround or an access has been provided. A right turn on the alley will be provided here, and it will become an L-shaped alley. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, and that concludes my presentation.
Does council have any questions of the applicant? Hearing none. Anybody in the public wish to speak to this item? Yes, sir.
Is there a copy for me? Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Council. Matt Sink, 410 West Park Avenue. I'm coming today to speak in opposition of this vacation of alley. I do have to say, like, it's a very clever way to work around what the public has already said about this. So last time that this parcel came in front of council, it was done as a PD, everyone was noticed, and this time we did it as a vacation. The reason they did it is because they went and have a SB1 that is contingent upon the vacation of this alley. So instead of doing a PD and having everybody know what's going to happen there, they did an SB1 and then asked for the alley vacation to make that happen. So we have to really go look and see what's actually being proposed. And what's being proposed is
Turn it 90 degrees.
Sorry.
There you go.
What's really being proposed is 14 townhouses that look very
Excuse me, counsel, I have a point of order.
Well,
This is not part of the vacating.
Stand by. Mr. Shelby, is that appropriate for a point of order during the response? He can respond, you can respond during the rebuttal.
I mean, you're presenting evidence that is not part of this vacating petition.
But the question is it relevant and material to the criteria. In other words, is it based on reports and evidence presented at the public hearing? Is it in the interest of the general welfare to vacate the subject street or alley? And towards that, it could be considered, and by the way, this is to remind council, this is a legislative matter. It's not quasi-judicial. It does not rely on competent substantial evidence. It's at a fairly debatable standard. So, Mr. Michelini, I would suggest that your objection is noted for the record, and you will be able to address it at rebuttal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. So it's a kind of a backdoor way to go back to what was already declined a couple years ago, when the neighborhood showed up and showed that they did not want this project. Additionally, when the applicant says that there's no use for the alley, well, if you put a fence or a gate in front of an alley for long enough, people can't use it, right? So just to say it's not being used does not mean it doesn't have value. The same thing is for staying consistent with the Tampa Heights Overlay District, which was also adopted, is that we want to preserve in Tampa Heights the alleys to do rear loading garages, which preserve on-street parking, which gives better access, which drives the community to not have the parking issues that we see in other parts of town, right? Every driveway reduces the number of cars that can be parked on the street. So by reducing access to alleys, we're reducing the parking available and creating more issues down the road. The other thing that is really interesting, and since I was an architect of this overlay district with the neighborhood, is the term of a, it's in your packet, a courtyard building. They're considering a sidewalk down the side a courtyard building, when we all know the intent of a courtyard building was really this. So the developers are using a roundabout way of saying that a courtyard building is having a sidewalk looking at an alley that they're going to partially vacate to get their overall goal of bypassing the PD process that we already went through last time. So alleys have a long-term public value. It conflicts with the neighborhood corridor vision. Ideally, the neighborhood has said they want commercial on this. We're losing commercial to support our neighborhood. And this is right on the corner of MLK and North Boulevard. Like, we're pro-density and we're pro-neighborhood, but we need to have multifamily mixed use.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the public? We're smelling these documents.
Yeah, they smell
They do.
Secret sauce. Carol Ann Bennett, start with your name, please.
Carol Ann Bennett. I'm going to read the highlights of an email from Brian Seal, who is the former president of the Tampa Heights Civic Association. He's asking you to firmly deny this vacation, that there was an identical request for this vacation, almost identical in the past. In 2022, by a vote of 6-1, City Council denied it and the associated rezoning for the same property and the same applicant. 4 of you were on council at that time. The applicant is seeking a workaround from the prior denial by getting a staff-level special use approval. The special use is dependent upon the vacating of the alley. The project is very similar to the denied project, 14 townhomes. It was denied based on a code waiver to allow front doors to face alleys. This proposal has 8 units facing the alley. I have been to every public meeting on the code enforcement, on the rewrite of the land development code, and at every meeting, Abby Feely and Eric Cotton got up there and said how horrible it is to have front doors facing alleys. That the emergency services, the fire and the police hate it because of the address problems, and that it should never be done. That was my sidebar. The officially adopted Tampa Heights neighborhood plan encourages the retention and use of alleys. The neighborhood plan envisions MLK Quarter for commercial uses. This project is Zone CG, and this would eliminate that opportunity. Tampa Heights Association has consistently opposed the vacating alleys, as alleys contribute to the unique urban design, and preserving them allows future development of adjacent properties to use them for vehicular and service access. The city should not give up future ownership of city property, the alley, in return for a project that is not built to the highest and best use of the Comp Plan and Land Development Code. The Land Use Committee of the Tampa Heights Civic Association voted to oppose this request to vacate and the associated special use application. Following the last denial, the applicant sued the city. The judge denied the petition and sided with the city's denial. The judge concluded, quote, "The court finds that the site plans provided, along with the weak justification for the waiver, sufficiently supports City Council's decision to deny the request to vacate the alley and the application for rezoning. It is undisputed that the petitioner's site plans depend on the use of this alleyway. City Council should not reverse a prior decision that was upheld in court. Please deny vacation 26-03 and the associated SU-1. Thank you very much."
Thank you, Carol Ann. Anybody else in the public that wish to speak to this item? Applicant, rebuttal?
I'd like to remind the council that there is no petition regarding this design or anything else that was presented as evidence as opposition. In order to prepare a decent plan, the alley must be vacated in order to consolidate the property. Following that, if this is approved, then we can move forward with plans. But to stand up here and say, we just oppose alleys being vacated because we oppose them is not sufficient, does not meet with the city code in terms of vacating or the criteria associated with that. And again, I'll go through it. Based on the evidence at the public hearing, is it the interest in the general welfare to vacate the subject alley? It's not being used, hasn't been used. It is obstructed both east and west on the east side of this property and north and south. The only individuals that would be affected would be those property owners on the east side of this property. None of them came forward. None of them objected to this request. You had an association who is much further south in Tampa Heights request that you deny. I'm talking about Brian Seal and the gentleman that just spoke. They don't live in this area. This is on the far north end of the Tampa Heights Association area. They're speaking for an association as opposed to the abutting property owners. And none of them came forward and objected. There were no letters, no phone calls received with any objection with the abutting property owners or anyone in the notice area. Will an abutting property owner's access of the property be completely cut off? I said no, and it will not be. This is a portion of one alley that runs east and west. Can the general public interest be served? I would say yes, it could. This would enable the property owner to consolidate the existing properties and develop them, bringing forward an appropriate plan, whether it's through a PD or a special use. I think the problem that we experienced before was that they had the vacating and the rezoning that were tracking simultaneously. In this case, we're asking for the ability to consolidate the property and then come forward with a plan, whether it's a special use or a PD. It is Zone CG, which allows for a number of different options, and those options have not been completely explored because the property has not been consolidated. Can the general public interest be served? I would say yes, it can be served. It enables this property to be redeveloped in a consistent manner. Is vacating the entire alley being vacated? I said no, and that's only a portion of the east-west connection. And it remains, it leaves the north-south and the east-west connection to the east of the property. It leaves them open. Those are your criteria. I'm following them. We've met them. We respectfully request your approval to vacate a portion of the alley so that we can consolidate the properties. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. We had testimony that said that an SU-2 had been filed, or was SB-2 had been filed? I'm sorry, something had been filed, and then in your testimony, you said that nothing's been filed.
I'm not aware of anything having been filed that's currently pending. Anything that's subsequent to this has to rely on the alley being vacated. So if there's something that's currently pending, it still shows the alley is being open.
Okay, has something been filed, staff?
I don't know.
Staff? can you tell us if anything's been filed on this property?
Ross Sammons, Development Coordination. Per the email, the special use is, I think it's 2628 is the associated, the special use that was.
And could you tell us what that is?
The site plan of which the applicant shown, I think.
Oh,
is part of
that was the site plan that's been filed?
Yes.
I would say, Mr. Chairman, that regardless if that's filed, the vacating of the alley would dramatically change any request going forward. The vacated alley, you can't consolidate the property. Under the current plan, if there's one filed, it didn't indicate that the alley was vacated. It couldn't.
Okay. Does council have any further questions? Is that after the rebuttal? Okay. I have a motion to close. Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. Any council discussion?
Well, we need to approve that closing.
Oh, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. I'm forgetting that all day. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. It's closed. Council, discussion? Or you want to make a motion? Okay.
I move to deny the application to vacate a portion of East-West Alley lying north of Virginia Avenue, south of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, east of North Boulevard, and west of Clearfield Avenue due to the applicant's inability to prove that it is in the general welfare. Additionally, it is in the Tampa Heights overlay, which does not encourage alleyway closure. We've heard from the neighborhood that said that they do not want alley closures, and that has been very clear throughout developments within Tampa Heights since that overlay has been put in place. I'll take any other additions if anybody wants to.
Let's see. I have a motion and I have a second. Motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. For just discussion and explanation of my vote, I feel like that the requested from the applicant is not in the public interest because there's nothing coming from the applicant that would promote anything within the public realm or public interest by vacating the rights of the public for this alley. Just since this is legislative and not quasi-judicial, I feel like I have the latitude to be able to say that if had the applicant come with a PD providing, this is on MLK and North Boulevard, very critical transportation corridors, if they had come with more density, a development that maybe would compel this council to say this was worthy of sacrificing a public asset and the ability to, to develop this. Because generally you look at MLK, you look at this as a commercial corridor. And you would think that an alley behind a commercial establishment, I believe in testimony it would say it was CG, that you'd want to have commercial alley access to that property. So I think again, a better development with high density may be a compelling argument. I can't guarantee that I'd get 3 other votes on that, but it would be something that I would look strongly at. Yeah, I'm going to support this motion. Anybody else? Okay. Very good. Roll call, please.
Vieira. Yes. Carlson. Yes. Miranda. Yes. Maniscalco. Yes. Hurtak.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
And Clendenin.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I would like to move item number 46. We didn't do that.
I will second that.
That was the consent.
Very good, thank you. I have a motion, item number 46, to move the resolution. A second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And I can settle number 7 right now.
Okay.
I can get all the consent done.
Is there any objection to changing the order and hearing item 7 before lunch? Oh, hearing none? Okay.
I just have a statement. Item number 7, we have made our position perfectly clear with staff about how we want to spend the tree trust fund dollars. During the multiple recent conversations about refunding the water department's infrastructure project for the trees planted, we agreed to the reimbursement, but everyone said that the water department meant well and that staff learned a lesson. Now, staff is coming to us, at least in advance, thank you, requesting contract approval for purchasing and planting trees to include type 3 trees. I do not want to have a long conversation and use up valuable council time today. We have made it clear that we want tree trust fund money to plant type 1 and type 2 trees. The Tremendous program is very successful and has a waiting list. I'm going to make a motion to deny approval of this contract's funding source. If staff wants to change the funding source, they can bring this contract back to us. Next week, we are going to have a continued conversation about trees during the workshop, and I will request to include homeowner front yards in the allowable planting area for the Tremendous program. The community has made it abundantly clear that they favor quality over quantity when it comes to spending tree trust fund dollars. So I motion to deny item 7.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak. I have a second from Councilman Carlson. I hear what you're saying, but I just don't like the absolutes, because there may be opportunities.
Again, we're having a whole discussion about this next week.
Well, rather than deny it, can we continue it?
No. You can do that if it doesn't pass.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Carlson.
The rules say that we can only, we can continue, but it just gives us a choice of accepting and denying. And as she said, we've had multiple conversations about this, and it shouldn't be coming before us. And
they promised.
We have to stand up at some point and vote against some things.
Can I say something?
Councilwoman Young.
I would just say too, I definitely support the planting of trees, but to Councilwoman Hurtak's point, we did state that, we specifically wanted type 1 and type 2 trees. And yesterday I just was doing some study to see what kind of type 1 and type 2 trees. And after learning that there's so many different species, and they don't all have to be, the one, grant, because we learned, what was that, maybe a couple of weeks ago, we learned that certain ones type 1s you can't plant, but there's so many species. So I would love to see, which ones can we plant? I think we kind of started that. We are going to talk about it next week. So I would agree with their motion. I know they're looking for some direction on this and want to plant it, but we kind of sort of have given that direction, and we know we want type 1 and type 2, and I think there's a lot to choose from.
See, the reminder is that the type of trees really has to do with the size, not necessarily the species, right? So, and what about, there's areas that you can't plant a tall tree? Councilwoman Hurtak.
Again, the point is not to relitigate this now. I have been working very hard on next week's discussion of this very topic.
So why not continue it to next week?
Because they can bring us another resolution. So if I'm denying this because we said we were going to deny it, and we can talk about it next week. And if we decide that we want to do that, then they can bring it back.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. With the
Motion
intent
carried.
that they can bring back a resolution next week with the amendments. Councilwoman Carlson. Councilman Carlson.
Maybe she's gonna, Councilwoman Hurtak's gonna do it new business, but, I think that we ought to specifically put on the agenda next week the item that you mentioned about the front yards.
It is on there.
Yeah,
It says a separate item? Okay.
Yes, and actually that is going to be part of what I bring back this afternoon is a, I'm making, that was a hope this afternoon, I didn't say evening. But yes, there will be conversations about that, and if it's, it is actually one of the motions that is on the agenda for next week's conversation. So we have put that, and I'll actually go ahead and bring that today. I'll show you all, I'll talk about it in new business to let you know what is coming forward next week. So thank you.
And I want to, and just to preface, for the next week's conversation on this, since we've talked about it a little bit, we have to provide some flexibility. And I've already told them they have to take bottle brushes off this list, right? But it's a problematic tree from Australia. A lot of people are allergic to it. It's just a bad tree. So I mean, I think there's a lot of work to be done on this. but we can't, I hope we can approach this without absolutes, you know, so. Okay, we are now at 12:09. I would suggest the council break for lunch until 1:30 to hear the 1:30 public hearings. And you please.
Next week?
What's that?
Next week?
Yeah, it is.
No, nothing's coming.
This
Yeah,
is dead.
we denied it.
This is dead. So this was denied. So next week, we'll be discussing trees again. Because of the 1:30 public hearings, please be in your seats at 1:25 so we can hear the public hearings, and we will be adjourned for lunch.